Down to the consent agenda, the approval of the minutes from March the 2nd and the 25th, the approval of reappointment of Michael Wyatt to,
There was a motion and a second on the agenda, but
Yeah.
there was no vote.
Right.
all in favor? Excuse me. Consent agenda, need a motion to approve it. It is the approval of the minutes from the 2nd and the 25th, the approval of the reappointment of Michael Wyatt, and the approval contractor service with Matrix for the new work order system for water and sewer.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We're down here to public comments. Remember, public comments, you're limited to 2 minutes. If you have signed up, you may speak. The board will not respond, go back and forth. We are here to only to listen.
My name is Emmanuel Powell. I've been here before complaining. I'm back again. My neighbors are getting wood, like fires. Look around again. They got the music jamming all around. Everybody puts it on the other one. I go to this one, he push it to him. He push it to him. No. It's the law. You cannot burn in the city limit. I didn't make the law. And I'm like, wow, what's this? And so I go from one person to another person to see what I can get done. I ain't getting nothing done. I think I talked to everybody besides these two ladies. But I ain't getting nowhere. It is against the law. And I have to have some sleep. Man, they up all night, but they sleep all day. So, I mean, it's just that I need some help with this. I figured I'd come again, and I'm gonna keep coming, because that's my right. And I wanna see what can be done.
What's your address?
Say that again?
What address?
My address is 312. The issue is 311.
What street?
Right now, as every holiday comes, they got garbage on the curb. They don't even pay for garbage, but they got it on the curb. And it's out there, and the trash man won't even pick it up. And I'm like, what's this? Every holiday?
What
If you
street-
think I'm
what
telling it,
street, sir?
when we leave here, drive by
What's the name
Graham
of the
Street.
street?
Graham
Oh,
Street.
you on Graham Street?
Drive by and see it. It's piled up.
Which house you see on Graham Street now?
312,
Okay.
right across the street from it. You see the trash over here.
I know where Graham Street is.
Okay, take a look at it.
Sir, excuse me. Wasn't an arrest made on your previous inquiry with us? You came back before, didn't somebody get arrested over there on Graham Street?
I'm not aware of it.
We're
That's where the guy that you all was hunting was located at.
Okay. All right. Good.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so, the, town of Wadesboro, charged, a tenant for stealing utilities, and we arrested, those individuals, and that court case is still pending. We've, went over there several times, and we've, addressed the issues, sir. Again, we charged the individual, and, they have been, waiting, to go through due process.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Gavin Fain. I own the home at 395 Burn Street. I'm new to Wadesboro. I've only been here about 2.5 years. great little town, and I have every intentions in contributing any way I can to making it even better. I'm here to protest against the building of the multi-home, townhome or apartment complexes on Burn Street. I know for a fact it will bring down all of our home values, and speaking to many other neighbors, some of them here this evening, it will obviously attract and target low-income families, which brings its own problems. Our street.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
He's signed up for public comment, so go ahead and go. Finish. We have a section for that, but go ahead and go now.
Okay.
Since you signed up.
The other big concern I have is speed and traffic on that street. It's been a complaint since I've moved in. It's been barely addressed by the police department. Now, granted, we have a new chief, that I haven't brought the issue up. But, our police department seems to be good, getting better every day, but still relatively small for our population, I believe, here. And I understand that comes with budgetary issues and things that maybe we can solve, but attracting more individual home buyers to our community, I think will help do that. That will help raise tax dollars. And speeding on that street, my neighbors and I, some that have been there many, many, many years, we have traffic, commercial and non-commercial vehicles in excess of 60, 70, 80 miles an hour up and down that street. And there's been very little to do to correct that. And now we're gonna bring in young, primarily, multifamily complex, which it's gonna be even harder to police that. So as a homeowner of Wadesboro, I would like to see new individual housing built there, not multifamily. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Now we will have a presentation from Mr. Neal from J.B. Watson on our audit.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have to apologize to you. I thought it was a good idea Saturday to get all the pollen off my screen porch.
That was a great idea.
It was a great idea Saturday. It's not a great idea today. So if I cough or sneeze or excuse my cough drop, we're gonna get through
You're
this
fine.
as quickly as we can.
You're fine.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight and for the opportunity to audit the town of Wadesboro. And welcome new council members. I'm a resident of Wadesboro, so I'm excited that y'all are here on board. If you will allow me, we're gonna go through the audit report just as quickly as we can. But stop me if you have any questions. I don't mind interruptions. If you'll turn to the table of contents, in your financial statement, I just kind of want to road map you through this, and then we'll actually look at a few of the statements, but not all of them, because that would take all night long. At the table of contents, you'll see the first thing is the independent auditor's report. We'll look at that in a second. Then the management's discussion and analysis. This is a comparative summary that management prepares, and if you want a quick snapshot of the town's past year, that's a good place to start. And everything I talk about tonight is the year ended June 30, 2025. So don't get confused. I know y'all are in 25, 26, and you're working on the budget for 26, 27, but I'm way back in 24, 25. The next section will be your government-wide financial statements. There are two of those, and they're on the accrual basis. So when you're looking at those include all your capital assets, all your debt, your pension liability, and then the next section is that's more what you're used to seeing in your monthly financial statements. The next page of your table of contents shows you some required supplementary information for the pensions. It's actuarial information, and it's required by GASB, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, to be in your financial statements. And then you have your detail statements. They begin on page 57, and these will be budget versus actual financial statements for each of your funds of the town, the general fund, the water sewer fund, but then all your grant funds and your project funds. On the next page, you'll see in the middle of the page, we do have some other schedules that you have in your financial statements that disclose information on your property taxes. There's a schedule, Exhibit D-3, that's required by USDA, and then there's your compliance section, which looks at your federal and state grants and your compliance with those. So if you'll flip, we're going to go through this quickly. The independent auditor's report is on our letterhead. You have contracted with us opine on your financial statements. So the whole purpose of the audit is our opinion of your financial statements. And in our opinion, your financial statements as adjusted are materially correct. And that is the whole purpose of this letter here. The next section is your management's discussion and analysis, and I won't go over that any. That's easy reading, I think. Exhibit 1 on page 1 is your first audited financial statement. Again, this is your accrual basis, so this includes all receivables, all payables, all capital assets, all debt. And I just want to pull out a few things here. You'll notice that far column says Town of Wadesboro ABC Board, and for those of you who are new, this is a component unit of the town. You appoint the majority of their board, you receive profit distributions from them, so they are included as a component unit in your financial statements. If this were audited by another company, we would say we are relying upon their opinion. We actually do audit Wadesboro ABC, so we've taken the numbers from their audited financial statements and included them here for you. I would point out two things on this statement for you. I like to take the prior year financial statement and the current year financial statement and see what's changed from one year to the next and what's new. I will point out that your cash has increased approximately $450,000 from the previous year. Most of that's in your water sewer fund. And then down at the bottom, and we'll discuss this in more detail later, but at the very bottom of your page, you'll see a negative unrestricted governmental activities net position of $2.4 million. While that is an issue, and we are going to talk about that, I do want to share with you that that has improved about $440,000 from the previous year. So management has worked towards eating away at that negative unrestricted net position. And what that means is if you take all your assets, your cash, your receivables, your capital assets, and you back out your debt, your accounts payable, your pension liability, your OPEB liability, which is your other post-employment benefits or your retiree health insurance, but it's called OPEB. And then you back out what's restricted, like the Powell bill has to be spent on streets. You have grants that the money is restricted. What's left in unrestricted should be a positive number. Yours is a negative number, which indicates to the readers of your financial statements and to the state that you're going to have some issues meeting long-term responsibilities in the future. If there are changes made, you might have trouble paying back your debt, things like that. But I do want to share with you that has improved from year to year. It doesn't happen overnight, so you just got to work at it steadily from year to year. The next exhibit is a sideways exhibit, and for those of you who are new, if you're used to looking at financial statements, this one looks really weird. But the purpose of this financial statement is to show your expenditures by function, general government, public safety, transportation, then what you charge to cover those services is in the next column, then your grants that cover some of those services. And you'll see in that fifth column over there a lot of negative numbers, and that's because you are a local government. So most of your services are payable with property taxes and state taxes. So if you go down to the middle of the page, you'll see general revenues, taxes, property taxes, $2.1 million, other taxes and licenses, $2.5 million. That's your local option sales tax. So you'll see that you don't charge services for police, fire, parks, but it's paid for with your property taxes and your state taxes. I will point out on this, if you compared it to last year, your total expenditures are down about $700,000. Your water sewer charges for services are up about 6%, which that's because you raised your rates. Your property taxes are up about 4%, and then your investment earnings are also up. We recommended in the past that you move some of your money from cash to North Carolina Cash Management. You invest that money, and so your investment earnings, your interest income, actually went up about $7,000 this year compared to the previous year because you invested that money. The next page, exhibits 3-1 through 4-2 are just your governmental funds. So this is your general fund and any grant funds that relate to general operations of the town. This is your assets and liabilities, not including capital assets. This is now, from here on back, these are all on the budgetary basis. They're not on full accrual. Those are your assets and liabilities of the general fund and the governmental funds. Your cash sewer fund transferred money to the general fund to help cover administrative costs. And we've talked with management about ways you might can account for that in the new year, rather than transferring money from one fund to the other fund, just account for it during the year as you're recording invoices and payroll. Exhibit 4-1, a couple of pages over, is in summary form, the details at the back. These are your revenues and expenditures for your general fund and your other governmental funds. Your revenues are down, but your expenditures were down even more. So you have a positive, you'll see down near the bottom of the page, revenues over under expenditures, you have a positive $21,888 for the general fund for the fiscal year 24-25. And then beside that, you'll see under your total non-major governmental funds, a negative $447,900. Don't be alarmed by that. That's mostly caused by the splash pad project. The grant revenue was recorded in the previous year when you received the grant dollars, and then the expenditures were recorded in this year. So that's not an area to be concerned about when you see that negative number there. Exhibit 5 is just your general fund, and the only thing I'd point out here, and this is good, at the very bottom, that appropriated fund balance, you as a board had approved to spend up to $363,000 of your fund balance or of your savings if you needed to. And if you look in the actual column, you did not need to use any of your fund balance. You actually had a positive $141,809 in the general fund. Exhibits 6, 7, and 8 are your water sewer fund. So this is the water sewer operating fund, and then any water sewer capital projects or grant funds that relate to your water sewer. I would point out that your unrestricted net position for this is up about $390,000, and your liabilities are down a good bit, but in September of 24, you paid off or refinanced your 2.189 bond anticipation notes. It was for the USDA sewer project. So you have bond anticipation notes, and then you issued revenue bonds to pay off those bond anticipation notes. They kind of work like a construction loan does when you're building a house. So if you're comparing one year to the next, your liabilities look a lot less this year, but that's because you borrowed the money right at the end of June 30, 24, and then you paid it back in September when you issued your revenue bonds. There's nothing wrong with that. It looks odd if you're comparing years. Exhibit 7 are your revenues and expenses for all the water sewer funds, operating and project funds. You'll see you have operating income of $267,000. You have income before contributions and transfers. Those capital contributions down there, that's grant dollars that have come in to build the various things, the various infrastructure projects you have. So that $1 million is made up of your USDA sewer grant, your industrial park grant, and then you've got like 3 ARPA grants that are in one project fund for water sewer improvements. Exhibit 8 is your cash flow statement. If you were a commercial business, the bank would want this cash flow statement to see what are you using your money for, should we loan you money. This is just your water sewer fund. That's all that GASB requires you to include here. It's the water sewer fund and water sewer project funds. You'll see you had positive cash provided by operating activities of $776,000. That's up about $130,000 from the previous year. You'll see another number that lots of people like to look at is the acquisition and construction of capital assets, about $1.4 million, and that's where you're doing all your water sewer infrastructure improvements. And you'll also see here where you issued revenue bonds of $2.2 million, and then you paid off those plus other scheduled debt payments of $2.2 million. And overall, you had a net increase in cash of $439,000 for those water sewer project funds and your water sewer operating fund. Your notes begin on page 12, and we're not going to go through all of these, but I do want to point out things that are new. Your significant accounting policies are on pages 12 through 20. On page 13, you do disclose that you had 3 new funds last year, and that's the CDBG NR Fund, the Fire Department Summer Camp Fund, and the Stormwater Assessment Grant Fund. Those are new for 24-25. If you want to know what makes up your restricted cash, that's at the bottom of page 16. And And in the state of North Carolina, almost always, any local government, their note 2 is gonna be where you wanna look to see if you've got any issues. Did you have general statute violations? Did you have amounts over budget? Did you have deficit fund balance? So your note 2 is on page 21, and as you are required to do, you have to disclose any funds that have a deficit fund balance, which means you spent more money than you took in for that year. And you had 4 of those this year. There was 1 last year, 4 this year. They're all grant project funds. It's the industrial park, the water sewer improvements project fund, which has 3 different grants in it, the new CDBG NR, which is a neighborhood revitalization, and your new stormwater assessment project fund. In all of these instances, you spent the money and had not requested it yet from the grantor agency, or you had requested it but not received it yet. And so you're showing a deficit until that grant money comes in. And we're gonna talk about that a little bit later in the management letter. But you are required to disclose that, and you've got it here on page 21. Your detail notes go from 21 to 47, and I just wanna point out a few things for you, because I don't wanna take up too much time. On page 25, you'll see at the top your construction commitments, and these are the significant commitments for all your various construction and grant projects. This increased about $2.5 million from 22, 23 to 23, 24, and then it's increased about another $1 million from the previous year to this year. But that's because you're getting more grant dollars in, and so you've got more construction contracts out. But as of June 30th, 2025, these are the open contracts you had for significant construction projects, that $5 million figure there. All the information on your pensions, your various pensions, separation allowance, your OPEB, which is your retiree insurance, those are on page 26 through 39, and we will not go over that because that will bore you to tears. Your commitments that were open as of June 30th, anywhere from June 30th until the date of the audit report. So that period from year end, anything that existed at year end through when we completed the audit is to be included in this commitments note if it's significant. There are a couple of new ones here. At the very bottom of page 41, you'll see there was your new interlocal agreement with Anson County for collecting taxes. There was a new agreement with the MAPS group for a compensation study. Those were the 2 new commitments on page 41. The information on your debt, your long-term debt, begins on page 43 and goes through page 46. And there is a new note on page 44. You've had revenue bonds before, but you did issue new revenue bonds in fiscal year 24-25, and that's that $2,189,000. And that's disclosed at the bottom of page 44. Your interfund transfers, where you transfer money between funds. Sometimes this is to allocate administrative costs. Sometimes it's because it's a grant project and you've got a local commitment that's got to be transferred from an operating fund to a grant fund. But all of your transfers are detailed here on page 47. And then on pages 49 and 50, and we're almost done with the notes, if you have a change in accounting principle during the year, you are required to disclose it in your financial statement notes. And so there was one change in accounting principle in the past year, and that was GASB statement number 101 for compensated absences. Compensated absences are vacation pay, sick pay, PTO. You've always accrued vacation pay and included it in your financial statements, but GASB kind of they didn't change the criteria. They improved the criteria for how you calculate it, how you disclose it. And you are required to disclose in your notes if you adopted this new accounting policy, which you didn't have a choice, you had to adopt it. But if you had changed, when you calculated vacation pay and sick pay, if it significantly changed how you've accounted for it in the past, then you would have had to restate your beginning fund balance, and you would have to disclose those amounts here in this note. When management calculated your vacation pay and sick pay, there was not a significant difference from the way you've accounted for it and disclosed it in the past. So this just lets you know here, this did not result in an adjustment to your beginning net position or fund balance. And then the subsequent events are things that happen from the end of the year until we issued the audit report. and they're disclosed on pages 49 and 50. You entered into an installment agreement in October of '25 to purchase a new fire engine for $1.2 million. You amended your agreement with the Wadesboro Volunteer Fire Department. You had entered into an installment purchase contract for 5 vehicles of around $852,000, and then you also disclosed in that very last paragraph some new grants that you've been awarded and that you have commitments to meet the requirements of those grants. So that's a fly through in the notes. Do you have any questions about the notes before I move on? Okay, then the required supplementary information is on pages 51 through 56. This is all actuarial information. It comes from actuaries that you contract with. We just have to look at it to make sure it is reasonable, and then we include it in the financial statements for you. And then your detail schedules begin on page 57. And I'm not going to go through these. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. But pages 57 through 80 are your budget versus actual for every single fund in the town that you had as of June 30th, 2025. Your other schedules begin on page 81, and that's your what you have outstanding for property taxes for the 10 years that are open. And then on page 82 shows you your current tax levy for the fiscal year 24-25. Your valuation and your levy were about static with the previous year. There was not a significant increase, but your collections were up about 2.5% from the previous year. And then this may change again in this coming year because you do have reval, and so these numbers I think will probably change in the coming year. The next schedule, Schedule 83, this is required by USDA. You've had USDA grants in the past and USDA financing, and it's perfectly okay, and a lot of units keep your water and sewer operations in one fund. But if you have USDA financing, they want at least a supplementary schedule in the back of your financial statements that has a column for water and a column for sewer, so they can see how those are working independently. And if you'll look in the middle of the page, your water operation is operating at a loss. Your sewer operation is operating with income, and that's one of the reasons USDA wants this schedule in here, so they can just kind of see. It also lets you see, do you need to change anything in your water rates, your sewer rates, how you're billing things, how you're charging expenses. So that's why that schedule's in there. Your compliance section begins on page 84. If you spend, I think I've told you in the past, there are like 3 tiers of an audit. There's generally accepted auditing standards. Then if you spend more than $100,000, you have to have an audit in accordance with with governmental auditing standards. And then if you spend more than $750,000 federal or $500,000 state, you have to have what's called a single audit, where we actually look at your grants and compliance over your major grants. You did spend more than $100,000, so this first letter is where we've looked at your internal controls over financial reporting, where we've looked at your compliance with budgetary and fiscal general statutes, not all general statutes. And if we have any findings, they're noted here. And Fred's not going to like the one at the bottom of the page, but it refers you to a lack of segregation of duties that makes him shake his head every year. That's just where the premise of segregation of duties is not one person should be able to, for example, initiate a purchase, approve a purchase, make the purchase, write the check, sign the check, account for the check, do the bank reconciliation, give the information to the auditor. You want to make sure there's some segregation in there. And in most places you do have that, but with a unit your size, it's not ideal. And I think if we didn't have this finding in here, LGC would probably want to know why we hadn't done a good audit. There are things that you can do to improve it, but then you've also got to look at it and say, is it feasible for us to do that with our current staff? With the cost to implement this. One thing I would recommend is just document. Make sure you document who did something, who reviewed it, whoever reviewed it, make sure they document they reviewed it. You've already got dual signatures on checks and things like that. Do you have dual sign-offs on grant reports? Everywhere you can, make sure there's 2 sets of eyes looking at things, and that will help you there. The next letter. Sir? I know. And it's getting better, Fred. It is getting better. You are getting better, I will tell you that. The next letter is where if you spend more than $750,000 in federal grant dollars, you are subject to what's called a single audit. And we have to look at your compliance for that significant grant. Your significant grant this year was the ARPA money, the money that's in that water and sewer improvement fund. There are 3 ARPA grants in there that you're doing for water sewer infrastructure. We had no findings in that area. So this letter just states there aren't any findings. You did not have enough state grant expenditures this year to have a state single audit, so there's not a letter in here for that this year. And I do want to let you know, OMB has raised that now to $1 million, and North Carolina has agreed to match the federal government. So in the year you're in now, the threshold to trigger a single audit is $1 million. Instead of the 750 and the 5 that it's been being, it'll be if you spend $1 million in federal or $1 million in state, then you will have a single audit. The next few pages are just tables that go over what's in the letters, and then your grant schedules at the very back, page 93 and page 94. And these are your various federal grants in the first column, your state grant expenditures in the second column, and then the local match is in the third column. And sometimes this isn't a required match. It may just be the project costs this much. We had federal dollars for this, and we're going to cover the rest. So these may not be match requirements, but these are local dollars in that third column. That's a fly through of the financial statements. Do y'all have any questions about those before we go to some of the letters? Okay. You should have received, when you got your packet last month, 2 letters. One is called a management letter and one is called a governance letter. Let's do the governance letter first. So it has, on the second paragraph, it says significant audit matters. We are required to communicate certain things with you in the engagement letter at the beginning of the audit and in the governance letter at the end of the audit. The first paragraph in this letter just lets you know we did the audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards, in accordance with government auditing standards, and with OMB uniform guidance, which is the single audit. The next section is where we let you know that we're aware you implemented GASB 101 for compensated absences. The next section is where we disclose to you what we think are your most significant or sensitive estimates. Do y'all have a copy of the letter? I just now noticed I might not. Should have been loose in the back of your financial statements last month. It's from us. It's February 10th. There are 2 letters dated February 10th. Well, I'll tell you what's in it, and if you need a copy, let Debbie know, and we can get those to you. They should have been with your financial statements last month. The first just tells you the level of audit standards we followed. The next is that you implemented GASB 101. The next are what we think are your significant estimates, and that is your allowance for doubtful accounts, your depreciation, your right to use lease assets and lease liabilities, and then all the liabilities and deferred inflows and outflows that relate to your pensions. We also disclose in here if we had any difficulty, if we experienced any difficulty in performing the audit, and we do disclose that we did experience significant delays in getting information in order to complete the audit. We communicated this with management all along, but we are required to communicate it with you here also. In the course of the audit, you'll give us like a working trial balance, and we'll start with that, but then staff may come up and say, we need to make a journal entry for this, or we may find something and say, you need to make a journal entry for this, and so we work through all these journal entries to get a final trial balance to draft the financial statements. There are some adjustments we come up with, and we and or management think this is not significant enough to put in the financial statements. It just does not need to be in the financial statements. Not that you're covering up anything, it just doesn't add to the financial statement. And so that's the schedule that's at the back of that letter if you've got the letter. And it shows you that you did not book an allowance for uncollected taxes, you did not accrue the subscription-based IT agreements under GASB 96 because they're not material, and you also did not book accrued sick leave. So in the past, you've not accrued sick leave. It was not required. under GASB 101, you were to reevaluate sick leave. And again, it was determined that it's not material enough, that the majority of sick leave you have in your accounting system will be transferred over to state retirement. It's not going to be a liability of the town. It will actually roll over into the state retirement. And so those are the three things that are included there. And then, do you have a copy of the management letter? I hope. Okay. We're going to take a little time on this. I apologize. So in the audit report are where we have to disclose material weaknesses and significant deficiencies. The management letter is where we share things with you that we think are high enough that you need to pay attention to them, but they're not to the level of a material weakness or a finding. This management letter this year, I will tell you, has 14 management comments or recommendations. 13 of the 14 comments were in last year's management letter. Either the exact same comment or something very similar to it. And I want to go over these because I want to make sure y'all are reading this management letter. The first one just reiterates note 2 in the financial statement that you had 4 funds that had a deficit fund balance. The next one is about financial reports being submitted to council. Based on the documentation we were given during the audit, we didn't see where every month you got budget versus actual financial statements given to you for the council meeting. I'm not sure if you were or not. You may have been given them and the documentation was not there. There may be months where you were missing some, but I think you need to make sure if you're making decisions for the town, you need to have those budget versus actual financial statements. And if you don't have them, take the initiative to ask for them. Say, my agenda packet didn't have this in here. But you want to make sure you're informed. The next comment is about bank reconciliations. And this one I want to temper a little bit. It says, per the documentation, 12 monthly bank reconciliations were completed late. I don't know that they were all completed late, and I want to tell you why. When we're doing audit entries, the way your software system works, you do a bank reconciliation. Well, then if a month later you realize we needed to book something, you're going to have to go back and reprint that bank reconciliation. So the date on it is the reprint date, but it could have been an audit entry that changed it. I also know during the year you implemented online banking, and there were a lot of issues that Ashley can probably share with you in great detail with getting Invoice Cloud, the online billing, and FMS, your accounting software, and bank reconciliation software to reconcile. Your bank reconciliations were being done. I just think they weren't necessarily getting done as quickly as they used to be. You also have a town policy that someone reviews the bank reconciliations and signs in dates when they review the bank reconciliation. We didn't see all of that documentation either. So I just want to keep reiterating, document it. If it's not documented, you didn't do it. That's how it looks to an auditor anyway. I would just recommend you make sure you have, and I think you probably do now, standard month-end procedures. This person does this, it's done by this date, this person reviews it, this person signs off on it. Just make sure that all your bank reconciliations are up to date and everything's documented. The next comment deals with late grant reports, but I think a lot of this was due to turnover. You didn't have a finance officer, you had an interim finance officer, you had a new finance officer, now you got another finance officer. And so some stuff just gets lost in the transition, and this happens with all units. But your Powell bill report, which goes to DOT for your transportation funding, it was submitted late, significantly late, and then the one that was submitted was not the final one, so it didn't agree to what was given to us the previous year. It didn't agree to what was in your previous year financial statement, and we had to work with your finance officer in the state to get all of that reconciled. And then there were also, the splash pad had 4 quarterly reports, and 2 of those were submitted late. Here again, I think it's a learning curve with new employees and new staff. I don't know that that'll be an issue this year coming forward, but we still have to let you know about it. And then the next comment, the one on the top of page 3, kind of deals with all of that. A lot of the delay in the audit this year was confusion as to, is this grant federal, is this state grant? Is there a local match requirement? Have you got the final invoices on this grant yet? Have you submitted the requisition to the grantor agency for this grant? There are a lot of issues around grant administration, grant accounting, grant reporting, grant requisitions. And you've got a significant amount of grant dollars that you already had, and now you've got even more this year. And we just want to make sure that you have clearly defined responsibilities for who's taking care of the grants, who's applying for them, who's submitting reports, who's accounting for them, who's making sure you're in compliance with all of the requirements. Because we've seen this with some units. The more late reports you have, the more issues you have, then the grantor agencies start taking away points, and you don't get future grants. So there could be future consequences from this. So we just want you to shore that up. The next comment is about the negative unrestricted net position that we talked about on Exhibit 1. It can indicate that there is a need to limit your long-term borrowing, that there's a stress on your financing. So we point that out to you here again. The next comment is the only new comment in the management letter, but it's not a new issue. It is an issue that we've dealt with for several years, and we thought management could handle it, and we didn't bring it to your attention, and we've decided it's risen to the level that y'all need to know about it. We are not getting information in time to complete the audit in a timely fashion. So that is here for you to look at. The last comment on page 3 is about estimating your tax collection rate, and I will tell you, I don't know if it was done right or not. The calculation for estimating your collections of your property taxes for your budget is very convoluted, and I've had conversations with the School of Government, and then things change. It's a moving target. Things change. You have new valuations in the county. You have new collections. We think your original budget may not have properly estimated your tax revenue per state law, but we're not positive. But we wanted to put this in here to bring this to your attention to make sure you are looking at it, because this year that you're working on now is a reval year. And in addition, you want to make sure you budget it correctly in accordance with state law. And you've also got to disclose this revenue neutral rate this year in your budget. And we just want to make sure you work with the county and with the School of Government or LGC or League of Municipalities, whoever you need to work with, to make sure you get that right in this year's budget that you're working on now. I'm sorry, we have a few more. The next one is just that they're late filing of reports. One of your cash reports that's due to the state every 6 months was late, but the next one was on time. Here again, I think that was turnover in the finance officer position. Your AFR, your annual financial information report, it's based on numbers from your audited financial statements. It was late again this year because the audit was late. The annual tax collector settlement is the next comment. It's my understanding that state law requires the county to provide you with an annual tax collector's settlement statement. And Patrick can probably address that better than I can. I don't think the county's given you one of those for years. And so I just urge you to continue to work with the county on that. The next one is, okay, I didn't think so. The next one deals with budgets. You approved giving $70,000 to the Splash Fund project to finish it up, and you approved that budget amendment. Anytime you approve a budget amendment for a project fund that involves transfer of money, you've also got to approve a budget amendment in whatever fund is transferring the money from, and y'all missed that half of the piece. And so subsequent to year end, y'all approved that other part, the completion of that budget amendment, and it is reflected in your financial statements because that was your intent. You just didn't have the formal piece of paper. I think it was the council's intent from going back and reading the minutes to approve both pieces of that budget amendment, but you did not. But we have reflected both pieces in this financial statement. The last one is just to let you know that there were issues with fidelity bonding, not the coverage, just the dates in the previous year, and that has all been cleared up. This is kind of a comment to let you know you fixed this. The next comment about credit card statements is also another one to say, this has been an issue in the past, but you're fixing it. But we wanted it in here so you could see there's some improvement. And then the last one is just, in an audit, we can't look at everything. It's impossible. So we look at samples, and based on samples we looked at for cash disbursements and for payroll disbursements, there are some approval documentations that are missing. It was not systemic. They were more like isolated incidents, but we just want you to beef up your documentation of your approval processes. And that's it for the management letter. And I know you're tired of seeing me. But I got two more things I need to go over with you. I'm not going to go over this in great detail. This was on the table tonight. This is where I give you like a one-page summary of the last 4 years. And then the far column that's shaded gray is provided by the state. You are grouped in a group of municipalities where your general fund expenditures are $1 million to $10 million. And so I've got the statewide average to the far side, and then you can see how you compare the last 4 years. Your overall cash, whether it's restricted or unrestricted, is $8.9 million. The statewide average for a unit your size is $7.6 million. LGC looks at your fund balance available. Your fund balance available is around that's just the general fund, was $3.8 million. The statewide average is $4 million. Your general fund expenditures are $5.6 million. The statewide average is $3.9 million. You can just see how you compare. For a unit your size, the state wants you to have this fund balance available as a percentage of general fund expenditures of 34%, which means you can cover 4 months' expenditures if there's an emergency. If something happens at the state and you don't get your sales tax, if you don't get, if the county gets hacked again and you don't get your property tax checks, they want you to have at least a 34% for fund balance available. Yours is 67.46, so that is good. There's some information here on your property taxes in the middle of the page, your collection rates versus the statewide average for units your size, and then your tax rate of 0.556 compared to the statewide average of 0.3058. And then there's some information down at the bottom on water and sewer fund for the past 4 years, your federal, state, and local grant expenditures, long-term debt, and your OPEB. And then the pages stapled behind that just let you know which units are included in your group where they calculate the statewide average. And all of this information came from LGC. And then the very last thing I have to go over with you tonight, and I think Jacob's probably going to follow up with it later, when we submit your audit, we submit a PDF of this blue book you have. We also have to complete a data input report, and it takes the information from your audited financial statements and puts it in this portal the way LGC wants it and creates this database. And then LGC calculates these various financial performance indicators, and this is this page that was on the table tonight for you. I am required to go over this with you in open session. I'm sorry. And I'm not going to go over all of them. I'm just going to go over the two that you need to address tonight. If you don't meet LGC's minimum threshold, then over on that far column, it'll say fail. And all the others say pass. I don't like that word fail, but anyway. On the first page, there's one. They look at your water and sewer fund, and they look at your net income for your water and sewer fund, and then they take out depreciation, but they add back anything you paid for principal and interest payments on your debt. When they do that, they want that number to be positive. Yours was negative this year, but there's a perfect reason for that. It's because you paid off those bond anticipation notes. It was scheduled. The problem was you had the bond anticipation note proceeds in one fiscal year and you paid it off the next fiscal year. Normally those are in the same year and it wouldn't skew this calculation. So I'm not alarmed about this. You just got to explain to LGC why this happened. And then on the back page, the only thing that has a fail is the very bottom, and that one's our fault, but it's because of y'all. If there are any issues that are in our management letter that we feel like you, the board, need to address with LGC, we indicate here there are no issues. There's 1, there's 3, there's 4. We put 4 here, and we discussed these with Wiley and Jacob. And the 4 were making sure you have timely and reviewed bank reconciliation, making sure the council has monthly budget versus actual reports, addressing what you're going to do for the negative unrestricted governmental net position, and then the last one was just grant administration. And so we've talked with management. They have to provide, you have to respond to LGC about these within 60 days of tonight, It has to be approved by the board, it has to be assigned by a majority of the board, and then management will submit it through a portal to LGC. And they'll just review it to make sure that you are aware of what's here, you have heard the audit report, and this is what you're gonna do to address it. The negative unrestricted net position. You're welcome. Now, that was really fast, I'm so sorry, but I didn't want to take up too much time. Do y'all have any questions for me? So you could get me out of here.
No, I didn't, this is important.
It is important.
We wanted to,
Okay. Thank you very much. Do y'all have any questions?
Do you have a plan with the financial administrator on reconciling the time issues that you indicated has caused some issues?
That depends on your decision later tonight as to who your audit firm will be.
Okay.
But if it's us, yes, we will have a plan.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
now, item B, presentation from the Anson County Coalition of Peace.
Good evening. Thank you for your service. That was a nice report. Anyway, my name is Leon Gatewood, and this is Miss Cynthia Wallace. I am with the Holler Community Development Corporation in Morven. That's where we're located, but I'm from Wadesboro. Been in Wadesboro my entire life, except for a few years I ran away. I've been here a long time, and Wadesboro is my home, so I'm excited to be here to make this presentation tonight on behalf of the now Anson County Coalition for Peace. And Mayor Davis, the town council, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to actually stand before you this afternoon. We truly appreciate this opportunity and your consideration. I also want to acknowledge right up front some of the people who've already shown up to support this effort of the Wadesboro. When it was the Wadesboro Coalition for Peace, of course, we had Council Lady.
Next page, please.
We can stay there for.
Oh, you want to stay?
Yeah, we'll stay there for. Council Lady Garris, Councilman Snuggs. Oh, great. Kaysen, who is no longer on the board. Council Lady Bennett, Mr. Ross, Mayor Davis, of course, Smith's Funeral Home, and Chief Spencer, when he was chief, all stepped forward to help us bring this coalition to fruition. Because the truth is, this work didn't start tonight. It started back in June when Mayor Davis called me and said, Mr. Gatewood, we must do something about gun violence in this community. And of course, just so happened, Ms. Wallace and I and some of the members of Black Voters Matter had already been talking about what we could do about gun violence in our community. And so for that call, Mr. Davis, we appreciate it. It was confirmation of what we were already doing and aligned this with concerns we were already having. And since June 2005, we've been meeting, organizing, and engaging this community, raising awareness, building momentum around this one core belief that peace in Wadesboro is not accidental. It has to be intentional. And while we're proud of the work that has been done, we are not here to claim the victory. We're here to proclaim that there is more structured work to do, and that has already been, and there has already been some real investment. You can really go ahead and change the slide now. The Neuro Project, Holler, and our partners, which included people like the Caraway Foundation, of course, most of the people around in this room. But we're going to move forward from awareness. What we basically been doing awareness, and we want to move forward from awareness to making more impact. We need the council and the rest of the communities, the rest of the counties, to join in with us to help us in this fight. you'll see some of the numbers coming up in just a little bit. But if you want to know who we are, here's the Wadesboro County, the Wadesboro Coalition for Peace was a community-led, cross-sector coalition working to reduce gun violence and strengthen safety in Wadesboro and Anson County. We bring together nonprofits, faith leaders, grassroots groups, local government, and residents. We coordinate community education, healing, and violence prevention efforts, elevate rural voices, and lived experience in public safety conversation. We operate in a nonpartisan public education framework so partners can collaborate while maintaining their missions. As to that said, of course, the Holler mission is not necessarily gun violence, and of course, the New World Project's mission is not necessarily gun violence, but we have a vested interest in the community because our work depends on operating or is more effective when we have a safe community to work in. So here's some early momentum coalition activities. On June 18th was the first Wadesboro Coalition for Peace Town Hall. It was held at Smith's Funeral Home. I'd like to give him a big shout out for giving us a free space to operate. And hosted with the Town Council, Town of Wadesboro, Holland, the New World Project, the Carol Rachel Foundation, and some of the faith leaders. 80+ residents attended, demonstrating strong community interest and turnout. Victim impact statements elevated lived experience and community voice. Bi-weekly meetings, coalition meetings launched following the initial town hall at Smith's Funeral Home. Victim statements elevated community voices. Community surveys introduced to gather resident input on safety concerns. Active participation from law enforcement, from the sheriff and interim Wadesboro chief, youth serving organizations, faith leaders, and violence prevention mentors. Charlotte Alternative to Violence, Robinson, North Carolina Violence Prevention Center. So then we moved on into the some fall activities. That included a back-to-school giveaway at the Holler Center. Black Voters Matter statewide gun violence decided to do their gun violence awareness tour, and they kicked it off in Anson County because of the work that was already being done here. And we had awareness tour kickoff featuring featuring a coalition at Ebenezer Baptist Church, and a fish fry with some very good fish, and cookout. Community movie night and a cookout at Oak Hill Apartments, which was very, very effective, we thought, very well attended by the community. Education and dialogue, public schools one-on-one forum. We had a reception at the Holler Center in October. Public safety conversation hosted by the New Rural Project, featuring the Wadesboro, what is that? WCP.
Coalition for Peace.
Wadesboro Coalition, look.
Through an acronym.
Threw an acronym on me. Okay, Wadesboro Coalition for Peace members sharing lived experience in gun violence. The key takeaways in 6 months, the Wadesboro Coalition for Peace moved from initial launch to government, nonprofit, business, cross-sector collaboration, and visible community presence across Wadesboro and Anson. And now we're going to get into some numbers, and this is where the wonderful Ms. Cynthia Wallace will take over.
Thank you. And thank you, Leon, for your partnership. Thank you, Mayor Davis, Manager Ross, Mayor Pro Tem Snuggs, and other members of the Wadesboro Council for seeing the need, recognizing how important improving public safety is for the community, and how this work involves a cross-sector partnership. So, the first number really is no surprise to you all. It's about, and this comes from the North Carolina Violent Death Reporting System, that almost 70% of the homicides that you all have had are preceded by an argument of personal conflict. So it's not random. It's, folks who know each other. So a little bit about, as I jump into the rest of this New Rural Project, we are proud to have been serving most of the rural counties between Charlotte and Fayetteville since April 2021. And I'm honored to be celebrating New Rural Project's 5th anniversary today at the Wadesboro Council meeting. And as Leon just shared, the coalition created a bit of momentum in our first 6 months of existence in 2025. But as we started 2026, our conversation centered on how we could ensure that that momentum continued, moving not only from awareness and to intervention and prevention activities. We all know this issue didn't start quickly, and a quick, short fix won't solve it. We reached out to, as we were mentioning a slide earlier, we work with the Charlotte's Alternative to Violence. They were mentors for us, as well as a group in Robinson County. And when we reached out to them, they talked a little bit about their work. And we wanted to understand how they had sustained and funded their work to last. Their work launched in 2021 and has shown significant success in reducing gun violence in targeted neighborhoods, including a 63% drop in non-fatal shootings. And they started their work in 2021. So the next page, a couple pages, will show you the results of those discussions that we had with them. Their model treats violence as a disease, and it's stopped through 3 specific research-based layers: awareness, which we've been doing a lot of in 2025, but then prevention and intervention. And those things cost a little bit more money than the awareness side. But what their work did that is similar to what we've done, it was launched as a partnership between the city. We got to get the county on board with us, and that's where we're going to be going next. But the city, county, and businesses to reduce that violence. And they had a goal of 70%, and within 4 years, they're already at 63%. They work and employ neighborhood residents to detect conflicts, to treat those high-risk individuals. And they hire folks who are from the community, who mirror that community and are trusted folks. And then with those folks, they receive educational, economic, and emotional tools. So over the course of these few years, they've touched over 800 plus folks. They've referred over 180 people to services, and then they've had over 60 mediations, which were basically focused on trying to implement and impact beefs. So, as Leon was talking about as well, in 2025, nonprofits like us, businesses like Smith's Funeral Home, Ebenezer Church, organizations like AMOA, and countless individuals invested over $75,000 into violence awareness in Anson to cover things like staff pay for work or mileage. New World Project has folks as far as Robinson County and as far as Charlotte that came here every 2 weeks, much of our staff, for about 6 months. Donated space, resources, free graphic design. We did that for folks in the community, countless volunteer hours, all without a strategic plan to get us where we are today. But for this to be a sustainable model, like the ATV model, the solution needs investments from governmental entities in Wadesboro and the broader Anson County, along with a separate entity to hold the work, the funds, and the accountability. So you'll see there's 3 levels of the work, starting with awareness, which we've actually spent about that $75,000 so far, but prevention and intervention, which prevention requires hiring folks, intervention as well requires some hiring. But if we start at level 1, the first step of this in securing funding to build a comprehensive, collaborative strategic plan. And this will make sure we secure a hired, qualified, independent consultant who is a subject matter expert to build out a multi-year strategic plan. This funding wouldn't go to Holler or New World Project, though we are both willing to continue the early work with the town, the county, business partners, and the identified consultant to help build this sustainable plan. When this work is fully funded, there are going to be significant ROIs. You can see those on the right. It means, we'll be able to lower expenses tied to medical costs, investigating and prosecuting violent crimes, and it'll help position Wadesboro and Anson County to assess additional state and federal funding. Through New World's projects work and our participation in the North Carolina Violence Prevention Coalition, we are regularly learning about funding opportunities through the North Carolina Office of Violence Prevention, and these are grant funds and federal partners. So with that, thank you for your time, your leadership, and your consideration, and we look forward to working together to build a safer and stronger community.
questions? Anybody? Oh, no, here's what we wanna say.
Yes.
Waysboro Waysboro is listed as a marginalized community. And one of the things that comes with being marginalized, some of the things we're running into, like high violence, things of that nature. But I hate that word because it means you kind of, well, marginalized means overlooked, pretty much. And I hate that word because we have all this talent in this community and all the funding, and that kind of means we're marginalizing ourselves if we don't invest. Does that make sense? So, well, I just tell you these two things. Because of that, we don't just kind of wait on the money to show up. We've actually working on we just submitted a grant proposal to T-Mobile for to help with the park. It's a very competitive grant, so we're keeping our fingers crossed. And we're expecting to get an announcement soon that on a proposal we wrote to do something to that graveyard over there on Henry Street. See, now either I can ask you for the money or I can keep trying to find some money.
I'm gonna ask for the money.
That's my spiel.
So my point is, we are both nonprofits, right? And so we're going after money every year. And so to really sustain this work, you've got to have committed dollars that you're going to get every year, year after year. This is not the only work we do. We do a lot of things. And so we want to be a part of it. But I think there are grants that the county and the town can access. And you also have budgets. But you've got to build a plan. So I will say the first piece is building that comprehensive multi-year plan, which is going to take several $1,000s. So you're going to need, honestly, to really get this work going, $50,000 to $100,000 between the town, the county, and maybe some of the other municipalities. You know, crime doesn't live in one place. It doesn't only happen in Waysboro. It goes to Lylesville and Polkton and Peachland. So it's an entire county and a town, multiple town situation. And so we need that cross sector. So just like what we've done before, though, you'll need the county and the town. You need some of these businesses. Like we've already been working with Smith. Like if we added up the free, the donated space and all those things that they've done for us, those things add up to well over $75,000, honestly, for like 6 months. So $50,000 to $100,000, honestly, is what the town and the county need to invest to get the strategic planning, to hire those violence interrupters. I mean, it doesn't require significant investment from the government. And then there's we've started brainstorming maybe some other businesses that might come along. And once you all have made your investment, it'll open up the door to the North Carolina Office of Violence Prevention that says, oh, Waysboro and Anson, they're investing. So now you might qualify for some of these other matching funds.
We can close on that, but like I say, we can't marginalize ourselves. That makes sense?
Mr. Gatewood, how long you been working in Anson?
I've been in Anson County for 68 years,
You've had Hollow down there a long time, ain't you?
20 years.
Tennis courts and all that. I've been riding by there about 30 plus years.
Yes, sir.
You've been working here a long time.
So we're trying to, it's going to take that, It takes the citizens of the community to do that.
When I sit and think about that now, you took your group of people and you took Holly and you set it there. Yeah, there's still violence there, but the
is Christine Morton, and I've been here before. And this is Friends of Anson County Animal Shelter. And this is Miss Maureen Lett, which is our director. So as everyone knows, the county took a contract out with Friends to do animal control. So we run the shelter right now. We're a non-profit based organization that we call Friends. We started in 2016, and so from then on, we have now got control of the shelter, meaning that everything that we do is on us. So we're coming here tonight, and you can breathe, because we're not asking for any money.
No, we're not asking for money. We want to partner with you guys and actually help you guys out. Miss Morton and I met with Mr. Ross and Chief of Police Childress, 2 weeks ago, I think?
2 weeks ago.
So we're actually wanting to partner with you guys and sort of get the animal ordinances under control with the town of Wadesboro. You guys already have established ordinances that former Chief Spencer and I got hoodooed in back in 18, right? 2018.
There's 11 pages.
Yeah. And Chief Spencer and I met at the animal shelter back then, and I told him then, correct, that this was not going to work, and they have not been working since then, correct?
The problem is there's so many stray dogs in the town of Wadesboro.
Well, and they aren't strays. Most of them are own pets, but there's no, like, one of your ordinances is, you know, it says every dog, let me hold this. Every dog, and I've been here multiple times over the years, every dog housed in the town should be licensed by the town. Tags shall be issued at the municipal building by the animal control officer. I mean, you guys can read it. So none of this has been followed through. Like, one of the other ordinances, Office of Animal Control, duty of animal control officer, says you guys are supposed to have an animal control division, that was supposed to be appointed, once somebody was supposed to be appointed by the town council. But we think we've come up with a solution to sort of get this under control. And I know I've been preaching this for a long time about microchipping and about licensing. I don't know if anybody's seen the Charlotte Observer today, that people that live in Charlotte and Matthews and Mint Hill are not in compliance with animal sheltering laws up there. They haven't been doing it, but it's written in their ordinances in Charlotte that animals are supposed to be licensed in Charlotte as well. They're licensed in Stanley County. Miss Morton has property in Stanley County, and her pets have to be licensed in Stanley County. So the solution is microchipping. Instead of, you know, providing a license with a tag that people are going to take off their animals and, you know, not admit that the dogs are theirs, then we host microchip clinics, which the county has been doing when I was working for the county for the last 6 years. Free microchips for people that live in Anson County, 0 cost, doesn't cost anybody anything. You guys turn around and do your licensing with the microchip information. It's a cloud-driven service that we put all the information in. When the animals get microchipped, they also get a rabies vaccine, which we provide free to Anson County residents for the last 7 years. We provide free microchips and rabies vaccines. Then the information loads up to a cloud. When an officer goes out to a pet in Wadesboro, we had given microchip scanners to Wadesboro Police Department before. We're not sure where they've gone, but they have them. They would take their microchip scanner, hits on the dog, there's a microchip number. This could be Mr. Spencer's dog. Officer would write Mr. Spencer a ticket if his dog was at large, if that's one of your ordinances. You know, if the dogs tore up somebody's trash, if you guys have an ordinance for that, you guys write a citation for that. It's really a simple process, and I wish the county had gone with this idea really a long time ago, because we'd have a better control of what animals are in our county, what animals are vaccinated. It would make everybody's life a whole lot simpler. But unfortunately, the county has not been willing to do this, but I think Wadesboro could be the jump-off point for the county to start doing this.
so we can get the animal problem under control. You guys can set your fee schedule. Like, if you have an altar dog, you pay $5 a year. It's attached to your water bill once a year. You guys generate the revenue back to the town. If you do not want to spay or neuter your pets, you know, if, an unaltered or unspayed female dog could be $50 a year. And that alleviates the cost of, you know, we have problems, people constantly turning animals into the shelter because they have accidental litters. Well, the only way to prevent accidental litters is to spay and neuter your pets. So we wouldn't have all these animals all over the town or the county if we were pushing more on spaying and neutering pets, which we also provide low-cost spay-neuter every week. We take animals to Cabarrus County. We've been doing so for the last 8 years. Once a month, we bring a mobile unit into Anson County and fix between 40 and 55 cats on average every month. People willing to bring their cats for low-cost spay-neuter services.
This would be no trouble for anybody in the town or the city council or the police. The way that we have it figured out is that we are partnership with a chip company, and we would do all the work. So what it would be is within 30 days, you would write in the newspaper or put out posters, however, online, and say that every animal in the city of Wadesboro has to be registered. So in order to do that, we would set up a chipping at the disaster.
Well, we could do it here. We could do it
Here or
here,
there.
like a drive-through clinic like we do at the shelter.
And then we would put a stationary chip finder, if we're allowed to, here at the fire station. So if there's an aggressive dog or if there is a wandering dog, anybody could scan it and it would go right to who that person is, whether or not the dog has had a rabies shot, and then we can get it back to its rightful owner instead of having to bring it into the shelter.
Yeah, and we also talked, I know when we met with Mr. Ross and the chief the other week, we have offered to pay for one of the officers that maybe would be designated, the designee as the animal control or enforcement officer for the town of Wadesboro. We offered to pay for them to receive their ACO 1 and ACO 2 training, and Friends would cover the cost of their training.
Now, we do, of course, we are county, so Wadesboro is county. So when we're called, we come directly to Wadesboro. We're just trying to give you a solution to the problem of any stray dogs that's wandering around, so people take responsibility to get the animals with the rabies shot fixed or registered. This way, if the dog runs loose, then we can find the owner and take it right back to it.
Well, the animal control officer,
Yeah.
yeah. And and you guys can issue citations. Like, citations can be issued, like, if this is the third time your dog's been running loose in Wadesboro, then your ordinance says, you know, you receive a $150 fine, then that comes back to you guys and that. I mean, once you start hitting people in their pocketbooks, you know, they'll start be more willing to keep their dogs and that up.
If you have read the ordinance, it says in the town of Wadesboro, there is a leash law. So people are not allowed to open the door and just let their pet run out, because then they go to Mr. Davis's house and they tear up his garbage, or they impregnate his dog, or they bite a child. I mean, there's 100 different ways that we can solve this solution.
And I know the day that we met up at the police station and that, there was actually a dog that showed up outside the police station, and luckily I've had dealings with the people and I know where the dog lives. So I went over to the people's house over on White Store Road and I called the gentleman because he showed up in my system and I have his phone number, so I called him and told him that his dog was loose. And the dog actually beat me from Wadesboro Police Department back over to the house and was standing there in the yard. I was like, how did you beat me over here? And the dog's standing there in this man's yard, you know, waiting to get back in the fence and everything. In that case, the dog had got out of their fenced-in backyard. But
You had a gentleman, and his name is Mr. Richard Newton, and he he went into the city,
Town.
at the town water to see BB, wanting to know where should he register his two dogs. He is up from Florida, he's at Fort Worth, Florida, and he said that in their town, every animal had to be registered. So he went in and asked BB, where do I register my dogs so I do not get a ticket? So we're presenting to the county about the same thing. If we can get the county
The
and
town. Well,
each,
the town first.
Town first,
Yeah.
yeah, each of the towns. Now, Lysville already has their police officer, which is,
I'm not sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
Robert.
Oh,
Yeah.
Bobby.
Bobby, yeah. And so, in the city of Lysville, we are not allowed to go in. If we're called, we have to tell them to call Bobby. So, and then Bobby will get a hold of us, and then we take it from there.
Yeah. I mean, it's honestly, it's a really simple thing to do. The cost, I don't know if you see on the second page, AKC Reunite is the company that we use. There's no, registration fee. It's a $5 flat charge. You'll never receive, another bill from AKC Reunite. They too are a nonprofit 501c3. They, it'd be a $5 charge. You guys could charge $10 if that's what you guys want to charge yearly for, pets. Then citations can be issued, and then, microchip scanning stations. If somebody's pet gets loose on a Saturday or Sunday, shows up at somebody's house, they can bring it up here, scan it, and reunite the animal with their owner and that. Yeah.
I'm saying dogs, but I assume this goes for cats too.
No, sir.
So
There's cats just running around.
We know.
there's very lax laws in the state of North Carolina. I mean, if you guys want people to register their cats, you guys can make people register their cats. As far as there being state laws about registering cats and trapping cats, they don't exist. And most animal control agencies, their focus is on dogs because there's laws regarding dogs and stuff like that. Yeah.
Mr. Davis, what we offer is that we have cat traps. And with our amount of employees, which is not a lot, we ask people, residents in all the little cities in the Anson County, if you want to trap a cat, bring us the cats. You come up, get the trap, we will give you cat food. You take the trap on Monday, set it out, trap the cats, bring them to us on Tuesday, and we will have them fixed and we will put them out. It's trap and release. So either they'll go to rescue or they'll be trapped and released at
Well,
different
and-
barns.
Well,
That's good information.
yeah.
Good information.
Yes, sir.
Do you all have some data approximately how many dogs are in the city limits of Wadesboro?
I do not. I can tell you how many dogs I have in the city limits of Wadesboro. I personally own 12 dogs, and I live in the city limits of Wadesboro. You would never know that I own 12 dogs, though, because my dogs aren't outside and things of that nature. My dogs probably live better than a lot of people's children. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, you would never know that I have 12 dogs at my house.
There's no way to know, Mr. Davis, how many dogs are Mr. Snuggs because they're not registered. If they were registered,
We would know.
we would know. And you could call us 2 months from now, 3 months from now, and say, Miss Morton, how many dogs are registered in the city of Waitsboro? And I can say, Mr. Snuggs, we have 898.
Well, yeah, but
mean-
there's a software program that you guys would also have privilege to, like Wadesboro Police Department. The town would have privilege to. It's a shelter. It's not a shelter management. It's a municipal sheltering software where you register pets. It also sends out a yearly update saying, you owe $5 for your dog or whatever you guys set forth for shelter, for registration fees or whatever. So it's BARK Pass, and it's a cloud-based program. So everybody, the police officer would have access. If he picks up a dog and he looks at it, scans the microchip, it's in the system. Fluffy's had a rabies vaccine. She's up to date on a rabies vaccine. Because that's another way for the town or whoever to generate money, is if Fluffy's not compliant on a rabies vaccine, not only does Fluffy get a ticket for being loose in the city limits of Wadesboro, Fluffy gets a ticket for not being compliant with a rabies vaccine. So you hit him twice, you know, and that would help fund an enforcement officer writing the citations.
We have on Old Liesville Road, a lady that called us in the evening and said that there was a dog standing on her porch. By the time we had animal control get to her porch, the dog was gone. So she called about 2 hours later, and she said, the dog is back, I'm scared, I got my children. So then the police department has to be called. So then the police have to go out there, and then we're called, and we go out there. But the police, I mean, they're not able to go and catch a dog or pick up a dog and put it in the truck and bring it to us, right? So they have to call us, we meet them. So what it's doing, it's causing the police department to have to go out there every time that we're out there. And Mr.
Yeah.
Childress, Chief Childress said he does not have enough officers to go out there every time they're called.
And he said this proposed, chipping program, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
You
sir.
would do it right here in Wadesboro.
We would do it.
Right here.
We do it right here in Wadesboro. We could do it like a drive-through. We do it at the shelter, like we do it at the shelter as a drive-through.
Rabies.
They don't have to get out of their vehicles. We go vehicle to vehicle. They pre-register, and we insert the microchips and give the vaccines. And then we could have volunteers log all the information into the system. So, I mean, that frees up, you know, one of our staff or one of your staff having to update the portal and everything. Once they're done, they would be updated with all their information. And then when you scan an animal, it's loose. You know, first time 25, second time 50, third time 75, fourth time,
The money comes to the city. It
yeah,
doesn't go to
fourth
us.
time you don't get your animal back. I mean, if you can't learn your lesson after 4 times about your dog being loose, I mean, you probably don't need it. You know what I mean?
I got a question. I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Research that you done, we implement this. Everybody's gotta do it. You chip one of them dogs and it dies. Cause I got 2 dogs sitting in my house right now that's worth quite a bit of money to me
Yeah.
that I hunt.
We,
You cover that cost or does the town cover that cost?
What, the dog dying? So we would, so,
Cause I mean, you know, even some medicine my dogs can't take. So what is the research that chipping doesn't harm that dog at all?
that I do, I know I've chipped a bunch of animals, and I know Stacy with AKC Reunites chipped a bunch of animals. I can reach out to her. She was gonna come speak tonight,
we
except
can
like,
have her come.
yeah, when, she's more than welcome to come talk to you guys from the company and
Cause I
everything.
got to look after the town, you know, that's what we do.
Oh, I understand,
Oh,
I understand.
I don't think,
Because right now, I mean, I got 3 dogs at the house, and one of them actually came from your shelter that you, adopted out.
yes, sir.
And I've been responsible for it in my yard because he left where y'all put him, and he ended up at my house. So he lives a life of a
Luxury.
luxury in a pen
Yeah.
with a fan and a heat lamp.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm not,
And I'm gonna be honest with you, this has been a problem in this county for 50 years.
Oh,
we
I-
know.
we know.
Fortunately, I've known 2 of the animal control officers. And used to be, you pick the phone up, I know them personally, I could call them. They'd show up at my house, pick that dog up. And it wasn't until we put that shelter up there, we had procedures and stuff. And I talked to a guy today that told me that he's waiting for y'all to come get a dog, and he couldn't either bring it to you till the 23rd.
correct.
Or
Because we
whatever.
have a backlog because we were closed for so many months trying to finish the shelter deficiencies the county had left. So we have a huge backlog of animals trying to get into the shelter because we were closed for so many months until we could get a state license when the county finished all the
Now,
deficiencies.
how long were you closed? Because I followed this whole thing, because this
Yes,
has
sir.
just been so
4.5,
interesting to me.
it was 4.5 months.
And that's when the dogs were all shipped out.
Yes, sir. That was in,
Yeah, well, no,
That was when she was-
dogs were all shipped out. I found rescue placement for most of the dogs, and then we had X number of dogs that I think there were 17 dogs that we had there, and we would have to move them from place to place to place in the facility, and unfortunately, they ran into some troubles with who they hired, getting the paint to stick and everything like that, but that wasn't, we did not hire the people, the county hired the people to do that.
we were closed from the first, not closed,
But even,
intake.
Yeah.
From the
Well,
first of
even,
October.
even though we were closed for intake,
We still
there were
have to-
217 animals that I found placement for that never came through the
So,
shelter.
so this young man's got this dog sitting in a pen, waiting till the 23rd for y'all to free up some places for him to be able to bring this dog.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
if
sir.
I called y'all tomorrow down here and we had an issue, what am I gonna hear? Cause I know what I hear sometimes.
If it's an unknown dog, but after a dog is in your possession by North Carolina state law for 72 hours, and you provide,
Food and water.
well, you provide care, sustenance for it, legally it becomes your property. So we are going Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, taking owner surrenders from people right now. So if it's a stray dog and there's no ownership to it, then it comes directly to the shelter.
So my best avenue is when that dog shows up.
To go ahead and call.
Start with
Correct.
that, right? No
Yes,
water,
sir.
food.
No, your best avenue is to go ahead and call us so we can come pick up.
But y'all gonna take till the 23rd to show up.
No, sir, because he's already had that dog in his care. That's, yeah.
Excuse me, we got one more.
Miss Martin, something I want, okay, if I got a house dog, do I have to get him chipped?
No, sir, you
Okay.
don't have to, but it would be up to the city council to make that
Okay,
decision, not us. If your dog got out of the house and ran down the street and went over Wits, and then it doesn't have a collar, and you are looking for your dog all night long, because a dog can go up to 5 miles. So if somebody found the dog and said, oh my God, this is John's dog, or
And
you
somebody,
put it on
say
Facebook,
somebody brings the dog to the shelter and turns it in.
we could scan it, it's got a chip that says, this is John Lyle's dog.
Okay.
Then we call you and say, Mr. Lyles, please come get your dog.
Okay,
Before we intake it, because once we intake it into the facility, then there's a reclaim fee.
Right.
So could avoid a reclaim fee if you came and got your dog prior to intake.
okay, I do
What's
have,
reclaim fee? What's your reclaim fee?
$45.
What's your adoption fee?
$85 for dogs, $60 for cats.
Mr. Sellers, the reason that we have to do appointments is because we were closed for so long. And you've got people, like next week, we've got 11 puppies coming in. We have got animals.
We have 17 dogs coming in next
Oh,
week.
I know it's a problem. We've had a
It's
problem
a
here.
problem.
Yeah, it's
So
a
we're
huge,
trying
it's a
to
huge
solve it.
problem.
Because if we can get the dogs chipped, then we can try to say, okay, let's talk about spay and neuter, okay? Because that's the only way you're gonna control animals, and.
Yeah,
and
I like,
some
one
kind
of the county,
We're going to, Mr. Lyles
yeah.
has one, and then we're going to refer to our town attorney.
okay, I can come in on y'all about y'all shelter, okay?
Yes, sir.
I was up there, and you took me around because one of my buddy came and got some dog food.
Yes, sir.
And I can see why the shelter was closed, okay? It wasn't y'all fault, and, you know, like I tell people, till you get out there and see what really happened, then, you know, people come in. It wasn't y'all fault at all. I seen one guy up there, I don't know what he was doing. If you would seen the work what was done, you would say, you see why the shelter is closed. It wasn't their fault, and I can come in on it. And, I see the point because I had to take a cat up there, and I understood. But I think
cat got adopted.
the cat that you adopt. A lot of people don't understand until you get out there and see what really happened up there. And that's why I say what I said. I see the protocol why you had to do it. But a lot of people don't.
Well,
Yeah.
we invite every member of this board to please come and see how the shelter is run, because if you come out there and you see what we have to do with every single animal, you would be amazed, because they have to go from process 1, which the very first thing is a rabies shot,
Well, yeah.
basically.
Yeah, well, we weigh, I mean, we have intake protocol that we follow. I mean, every animal that comes into the facility is weighed, and, you know, they're given core vaccines, they're given dewormer, they're given flea medication, you know, they're logged into the system. 2 weeks later, we revaccinate if they're still with us. We revaccinate all animals. You know, it's a lengthy process, you know. Intaking 11 puppies or whatever probably takes a little over 3.5 hours. You know, you have to medically check them, make sure they're sound, because, you know, the state comes in and monitors everything we do. So we have to have documentation, just like you guys when Miss Bennett was talking about, your audits and stuff like that, the state comes in and audits us too. They pull our records for enrichment, any animal in our care for, so many days, we have to provide enrichment, daily. They have to go outside for a certain number of hours daily. It's not like animal sheltering now is very different than animal sheltering 30 years ago when they went down to the wastewater, beside wastewater. I'm sure you guys have been down there.
I know what you're talking about.
And they never made it out, basically, honestly. So, we're trying to do better for the animals in Anson County and the city limits of Wadesboro, trying to make things better for everybody.
Yeah, just a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
And my question isn't about whether microchipping is good or
Yeah.
bad. It's about the legal authority of the town
Yeah.
to enact some ordinances. Are you talking about a voluntary program where people in the process
So,
of
right-
registering can do this? Or, let me just finish my question because I want
Yeah.
to be very clear about
Yep.
this. Or are you talking about a mandatory program where if you own a dog in the Wadesboro city town limits, you have to get your dog?
So right now, technically, you guys have a mandatory program saying that the dogs have to be licensed.
Licensed.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. So what we're saying is instead of, them coming to the town hall and getting a tag that you guys issue with a number that usually gets lost, because I have to reissue a bunch of rabies tags like yearly, where people have got rabies tags, we have to reissue them because people lose them or they forget where they put them and things like that. If you put a microchip in one, then you don't have the problem of losing the tag because it's already implanted in the animal.
Okay, let me.
They would sign a waiver. They would have to sign a
Let me
waiver.
stop you there. I just want to back
Yeah.
because I need clarity. I'm
Yeah.
a dog owner as well.
Yeah.
And I just want to be sure. Microchipping a dog, my understanding is you're talking about putting something in the
Correct.
dog.
Right
Yes.
under the
Are
Yeah,
you
it
talking
goes-
about putting something into the dog? Or are
Correct.
you talking about some sort of electronic
Technically, it's a chip. It's inserted like this dog right here. His is inserted. You insert it in between their shoulder blades. So his little microchip is right here. It's like
They're
a,
tiny, tiny.
it's like a little bead of sand, basically. I should have brought one of them with me, but it is inserted. Yes. And we do it with somebody from the company comes down and does it, and a licensed veterinarian.
But
Yeah.
And that's mandatory, is what you're talking about.
That would be up to you guys.
If I say, I don't want my dog microchipped, I will
Then it
register
would,
him.
yeah,
I
then
will-
that would be up to the town, but
yeah,
the way I explain microchips is if you're going to the beach and you have a wreck and your dog runs away, and you don't have your collar, I know,
get
I know.
why it's a good
Yeah.
idea. I'm just,
Yeah.
because I've not seen, and help me if I've
Yeah.
missed something. I've not seen a community that has a mandatory.
They do not, I have not in North Carolina have not seen it. I have not
Up
seen it.
north.
This would,
Right.
places up north do this.
I understand, but
Yeah,
I'm looking for
but
another North
no,
Carolina
Yeah,
jurisdiction.
no, this would put us on the map probably doing this type of thing.
I'm
and
concerned it would put us on the wrong side of the law.
Maybe, well, it would be something, it would have to be
Okay,
something that you would look into.
I just
Yeah.
wanted clarity about that.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can go to the tax, Stanley County has tax, and it is brought to you in your taxes. So, but then you have to do the cost of the tag,
Well,
same thing.
and unfortunately, the town of Wadesboro isn't collecting taxes, correct?
I get that.
Yeah.
That's just a separate.
That's why we said about doing it with the water bill and licensing that one.
We've heard you.
We done?
We've heard you, both sides, and, we heard you, and the manager will give a response
Yeah,
at
so-
that time.
Yeah, so just real quick, we did meet with Maureen and the Friends of the Shelter, and the bottom line is that we have a dog problem here. Dogs are running loose, and we need to get a hold of it. And they thought this was a good idea. They pitched it to me and the chief, so I'll bring it to council. So what we'll do, we'll discuss it and figure out how we can legally do it if it's possible, or come up with another solution to move forward.
What's a good day for y'all to do a visit time and all?
You guys, anytime you wanna come.
What's the best day for you? Where you're
Monday,
not as burdened?
Tuesday, that's intake. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday
Wednesday,
is
our intake, yeah, that,
Mr. Sachs, let me explain. Morning time from 8 o'clock in the morning.
If you have a
to
queasy
1,
stomach, I would
don't
recommend
come,
don't come, okay?
because all the
That's-
kennels are full of.
That's what, that,
So 1 o'clock, all the kennels will be clean. We'll take you through everything. We'll even feed you lunch.
Mr. Parsons came, I know Mr. Parsons had come out and toured the shelter, Mr. Wiles has, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
And y'all do a good job. I see you volunteers walking them on
Oh,
Saturday.
that's your.
We're down here to, guys, I need a motion to go into public hearing.
Second.
All in favor? We're now in public hearing. Under public hearing, proposed rezoning request from J.M. Cardinal Properties LLC for property located on Burn Street to rezone from R20 to R6 to build townhomes or multifamily apartments.
Anybody here from them today?
Anybody here?
From the building group?
Yeah, right there.
Good evening, or afternoon. My name is Marco Mendoza. I'm a local resident of Anson County, my first time here. We're proposing to build some townhomes on that property that we own there. I'm looking to build market rate apartments. I'm not looking to build Section 8 or low-income apartments on that property. I know that was one of the concerns of local neighbor. But it's my first time. I don't know the process. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Been to the planning board? Mr.
Yes.
Grant? What did the planning board say?
They didn't have a quorum, so they.
That's twice. So why do we have it? Anyway, excuse me.
Are you familiar with our, land use plan here in the town of Wadesboro?
No, sir. Not,
Well, we have one.
okay.
I think it's the,
May be beneficial.
opinion of the board, that's what, it's my opinion.
Yes, sir.
That, you should try to go by that.
Just research that.
Ms. Garrison?
I have the land use plan,
Okay.
and, that area is recommended for low-density residential. That means single-family homes,
Okay.
not multifamily.
Okay, even though there's a high-density area across the road? Or
Yes,
counter
down,
cross, yeah.
This was done in, 2023, so those apartments were before.
Hmm.
But with the traffic on that road and the, placement of the residents over there, they recommend low-density, single-family residential.
The issue is that it's 12 acres that I own there, and it's hard to, well, I guess I could do a
You can do
community.
single-family, yeah, you
Yeah.
can do single-family.
We want you to build, we
Yeah,
like.
I don't want to build something
want
that
it
would
right.
be damage to the
Yeah, we
community
want it
either.
the right way, though. We wanna make sure that we take into consideration existing residents' feelings and concerns. Make sure Wadesboro grows right.
That's right, that's right. Okay, well, I'll look into that, and I can come back and try to see if, what would be better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Need a motion to go out of closed session.
Make a motion.
I mean, yeah. Here, yeah,
He was confused. Yeah, Coach.
yeah.
I'll second it.
Old business approval of the RFQ related to streetscape grant engineering design.
Mayor, members of council, this is a request for, put out a RFQ for the streetscape grant, for the engineering design phase of the, uptown Wadesboro. We are redoing the uptown area, with a new streetscape, and, this is a request to get approval for the RFQ, for the engineering services for that.
Questions?
And this is putting, you say you're putting out a RFP to get a engineering firm?
RFQ, yes, so
I mean,
we're gonna
I'm sorry.
request for qualifications for,
Well, now, on here you got RFP.
Yeah, that's a new
Excuse me, let me get over here. I'm just reading on what you gave me now. RFQ, you're right, sir, I apologize.
So, and that is to design how we want it, meaning the community and the council and the staff, how we want to design, how the uptown, streetscape project, how it looks, right?
That's the section, new section, right?
It's from, Wade and Washington going up Wade, down Green, Rutherford, new sidewalks, new lighting,
I make a motion to approval for the RFQ related to the street engineer design.
All in favor? Down to new business, we just talked about this in public hearing, approval resolution rezoning request from J.M. Cardinal Properties LLC located on Burn Street.
Would I come back with something at the next council meeting?
We need to kick this back to rezone, back to the zoning board. Is that what we can do?
I'm gonna make a motion to deny it, and then he can come back with another plan for single family. So
I
that's,
got enough road frontage to put a bunch of duplexes on there, that would cause more traffic than me actually building into the property.
single family homes.
Yeah, but duplexes still qualify as single family. I also have a buyer that would buy the whole thing to put mobile homes, which is, and I don't wanna do that. So I think that would
Approved by whom?
So that area, that area there, the lots are approved for mobile home. I don't want to do that because that would lower the value of houses in that area. I would rather do the project.
I thought we
Mr.
had,
Yes, sir.
Before we leave, withdraw the application.
do he need to go back to y'all board before he bring it back to us? City limits of Waynesboro. Yeah. I make the motion to deny this request.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Denied.
But, come back with us, you have,
Hey, Marco.
Yes, sir.
Marco's a great builder, he built my house, but my concern and question, Marco, you mentioned that's 12 acres, there's no way that's 12 acres.
That's 12 acres.
Whoa,
Where
whoa,
your
whoa,
poster's
we're
been
not,
sitting for the last-
we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna discuss that. We moved on. Moved on.
if you come back, can you bring us a rendering of what you
Yes, I
want?
would do that,
Okay.
because it would make it a little more clear of how it would be so nice to go drive into the property instead of building on the road frontage that I own, which is quite a bit as well.
If you bring us back
It
some,
would create more traffic if I build on the road frontage, that's what I'm trying to come, because I know that was a concern, the traffic. If I build on the road frontage, I mean, you're gonna have a bunch of cars backing out of the property.
So what you can do when you come back is, have a scale drawing
Yes, sir.
of what you wanna do and a scale drawing of, single family.
Yes, ma'am, I will do that for you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. Down to B, approval for 5-year contract with the Department of the Army Limited Maneuver License to engage in special field training exercises.
This is where the Army Corps of Engineers, the Army, right, Scott? Scott can explain it more. They're asking to use our property to do training maneuvers.
I've actually done it with them.
Mayor, council, what this is, and I'm glad Mr. James is still here to bail me out if I need it, is this is a partnership with the Army, the United States Army, to where they bring their special forces that are going through qualification school, Green Berets per se. What they do is they have to go through a series of classes and stuff like that to get these credentials to get their Green Beret status. A lot of that is land navigation, stuff like that. They do their warfare stuff on the Army's property. They have done some stuff in town before, with the old Tolleson building, Mr. Davis, you remember that. But I believe what they're wanting to do here is to use a lot of our, like the city pond, that's where they would do a lot of their land navigation stuff to do it. I don't know a whole lot of the ins and outs. I haven't talked to these people. Mr. Ross asked me about it, and that's what little bit I know about it. Mr. James, would you kind of concur with that, or?
Well, town, I think about 10 years, we engaged with
Fort Bragg,
Camp McCall.
Camp McCall.
Is Robert Sage same as this?
Yeah,
Yes.
this is
I thought
Robert.
it was different.
It's
No,
the same,
this
it's the same
Robin
exact
Sage.
thing.
This Robin
That's,
Sage.
I'm just now looking at the contract.
Yeah, it's Robin
Debbie
Sage,
gave
but
it to me, it says Robin Sage.
Okay.
we've done it, they use City Pond, me and my brother, we engaged in a contract with them, they land helicopters on our property, go through the woods to the City Pond, and they done it for years. Like Scott said, we used to have, we'd have a shootout over here in the Towson building.
Yeah.
And, I participated in that, so,
They're not using, live.
No, it's all blanks.
Yeah,
It's
it's all
all
blank.
blanks.
It's simulations.
it's all,
Are they taking their equipment on that road, going up in there that we just got paid?
nothing that was
They're
bothering.
not?
They usually run something in the newspaper to let
Yeah, they'll come around and let everybody know when they're here and stuff like that. I wish I knew more about it, but I haven't talked to them, so I don't know.
So, and they use other, counties and cities, property as well, all over North Carolina.
Right.
Yeah, so.
Most of the time they run pickup trucks, they use, a lot of times back in the day, they would use local civilians and
Okay,
stuff, so.
okay. You need a motion, yes, you do.
I make a motion to approve that.
All in favor? Item C, discuss and consider approval of contract service with Dominion Partnership Its Solution for email monitoring and protection.
Yeah, Mayor and members of council, recently we have been, had several attacks on our email and Outlook, which is, through Microsoft. And so, the county uses this same, contract. We had a couple of bids, this came in as one of the lowest ones, and we just need the firewall protection for our email. Because I've gotten hacked 3 or 4 times. I think Ashley has gotten hacked. It's getting, pretty aggressive now. What they're doing, they're sending emails to all of the folks that we do business with in reference to a DocuSign, saying that they that I sent something out for them to sign to receive, resources, and that's just not happening. So we need to protect ourselves, and this would be a great measure to do that.
I'll make that motion. Second.
All in favor?
How much is it? This is right here?
Is that the one? Yes, sir.
So
Yeah, at the
yearly
bottom.
subscription is 3,000?
That's correct.
Okay.
All right. Down to D, discuss and consider approval contract to serve with solution software for FMS hosting cloud-based.
Yeah, FMS is our financial software system that we use for the town. When we have a power outage or a bad storm, I think the last time we shut down the system for a bad storm, we lost data. And FMS is recommending that we go to this cloud-based hosting system that will be able to acquire any data that was lost during the power outage.
Need a motion.
Make that motion.
All in favor? Down here to E, discuss and consider approval of contractor service with Walter Printing for mailing and printing monthly water bills.
Yeah, Mayor and members of council, presently what we do, we do our own mailing and billing. We have stacks of cards that employees have to spending timeless hours of putting together. We want to go to a more electronic system, and using a printing source, we can do that. This expenses will be incurred out of the water and sewer funds. So we're asking approval of this to go to a more of a electronic system in printing our bills and mailing them.
So who do we hold accountable if it's misprinted?
We will have a contract with the printing company, Walter Printing, out of Albemarle.
I get a discount?
Do you?
I'm just making, talking about the water bill being cheaper. Is that the price here? What's the cost of that?
The price of, it's like $1,500 a month.
Yes, sir, a little over $1,500 a month. And then plus you gotta factor in your postage.
The postage,
We're
right.
gonna be required to pay postage, which on average is about $900 a month.
What it cost us now?
Right now we pay about, what was it, 13,600 for the whole year, and that's postage and bills included.
And this company's gonna cost us how much?
If you factor in all postage
Currently,
And
currently, the system that we use right now is antiquated. You have 2 or 3 employees in a room with big boxes of cards that you have to manually feed into the printer to print out. Okay?
How does the county do that?
They use a printing company.
What printing company they
Who
use?
do they use?
They use, I forgot the name, but it's about the same cost. Again,
Is it a way that we can,
so the expenditures are coming out of the water and sewer fund. And so what we're trying to do is save man hours. The cost is going up, but if council wants to continue to use manual, and our employees and and how they're going to do it, which like I just described to you, sit in a room and manually put it into a printer to spit out everybody's address, and then we take it and we take
Okay.
and take to the post office.
so the question I have is, why you saying that it's coming out of water and sewer, it ain't gonna directly impact, our fiscal,
It would be expenditure.
We're just, we're in a healthier spot with our water and sewer funds than we are with our
So-
general fund, so it would be a big.
So what happens if the company goes up? We go the year, the company goes up that we contracted with. Are we gonna put the price on the people if they go up?
Yes. So we can spell out in an agreement what the cost is going to be.
Can we see how much, exactly how much, so we have a comparable, that the company that the county is using?
The county was somewhere around in the middle 20s, 24, 25,000 if I remember correctly. And I think this is with the postage and everything, we're almost like 30,000 a year. That's a year.
I get it.
Yeah.
Here is, so if we do this, council votes to do this, what I'm saying is, I'm going back to the Neal report, so some of this stuff is gonna come off of them, and you can allocate where we're not late, all that stuff that was in our report. The man hours from feeding that system can be used to comply with some of the stuff in our book.
That's correct.
It'll make your process
More streamlined.
So,
Because we'll send them a file and they'll print stuff off for us, they'll fold it, put it in envelopes with windows. The only thing we'll be doing is postage and sending them off.
So you have a contract, so they just can't raise it like they want to?
That's correct.
so they would do it, but we still have to.
We have to put postage on it and send them, yes, sir. If you remember.
We have a machine.
Yes, we have a postage machine, so, and we also can go on our, account on USPS and send them that way.
So now, if we approve this, some of this stuff in here, it should be redirected or whatever, where we're not.
how many hours a month does that take?
Actually, how many hours do they do that?
Well, it's done up front, usually by Connie and the staff, so it's 2 hours. This is the last day of the month that we do billing.
So that 2 hours ain't got nothing to do with us getting behind on that other stuff, cause it's coming out front, the stuff we're behind on is
Yes, sir, that is.
coming from the back part of it.
Okay.
So we take,
It wouldn't directly affect your MD&A, it wouldn't have a direct impact. What it would do is it would effectively change communication and help the citizen be able to read things better if it's not on a tiny card and instead it's on a large piece of paper.
See, what I would like is you present us something, but unless I didn't see it in the package, what it would, compare and contrast.
Yeah, I like to see a contract.
Compare and contrast. I know what I get, what I was getting, but now what am I paying a little extra to get that the citizens going to get, that will be able to understand it?
So, right now, the citizen get a little card.
Yeah, I know that.
Everybody in America gets a bill like this. Piece of paper and shows your usage. That's what we're proposing. And what we're saying is that the time that it costs for staff to put those cards into the printer, we can save time electronically by having a printer service do it, like what the county does.
how many people work on this,
Connie and John, 2 people.
Take 2 people, okay. How many days do it usually take?
It's just 1 day,
One
at
day.
the end of the month, right?
2 hours.
1 day. 2 hours.
And,
I hate.
okay, the 2 people, if you go the route you're talking about, so the other 2 people, they can get to do something else different. They can help out in another way.
We can
Or they
spend
still
time,
do the same job.
we can spend time doing other things, is that correct, Ashley? In terms of if they're not doing, so again, this takes
Some of the manpower.
manpower
Yeah.
to do the cards. Again, we're proposing that we do another system, electronic, the way that we do it now is antiquated and it's not necessarily the best use of.
Right. Okay, my next thing I want to ask, if you write a contract, I know you're gonna write a contract, you can't raise the price of,
But you gotta do it for a couple of years. I mean, print go, everything's going up.
to me, people ain't gonna believe it. You gotta realize one thing, everything changing. So, you're gonna have to make a change sooner or later, that's the bottom line. So, we can sit here and say, it ain't gonna happen, yes, things gonna change. So, we're gonna have to start somewhere.
So right now, we spend how much?
That's bottom line.
$13,600 based on
You know.
rough calculation.
How much do we spend a month?
You pay
We got
6
something.
months worth of bills is $1,400 and $900 worth of postage, so.
So how much is that? About? And if you, so, so this bill is $1,500 for the printing, then we gotta pay for the postage, because we got the machine. And the printing company is recommending that we use our postage and that federal machine to put on each of the envelopes.
Cause we already do that anyway.
So they're gonna print it, and then they're gonna mail it back to us.
And then we take it to the post office.
Then you take it to the post office after you run it through that machine for 2 hours.
No, we won't have to run it through the machine, because we got online with, postage, so
Yeah.
we just key it
You
in.
can go with either number.
Yeah.
And roughly right now, we pay $1,134, roughly.
So roughly, how much will we be paying with this implementation of this per month?
Between 24 and 2,500.
Council? Any more
I
questions?
think for 2 hours, it's just too much money, but I'm just one person. Not when you sit there and tell us that we need to kinda cut. I see it on all my paperwork, cut.
I'm of the same mindset.
Council? Need a motion?
I make a motion, we leave it as is for right now. Feel a little better down the road, maybe.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor of, leaving it like it is, raise your hand. 4-1. Didn't pass.
All right, so, with that being said, we will need to order more,
Yes, sir. Tomorrow we'll sit down and we'll make sure we have.
because we have 1 more month left, or 2 more months left
One more month left.
of the cards, right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
1 month left.
Okay.
Item 9F, discuss and consider approval for RFP related to sanitation department.
Mayor, members of council, we had been looking at contracting out our sanitation department. As it currently stands right now, the town is losing about $43,000 a year as relates to sanitation. We just want to put it out for RFP for some companies to give us some proposals and see if we can save the town some money and also provide a higher level of service to our citizens. We're proposing to still continue the leaf and limb pickup as well as the business pickup in the business district. So just want to put it out for RFP.
And that'll give us quotes on what it's gonna be.
They're gonna
Exactly.
give us full proposals to continue our service that we offer, but instead of us having the equipment and things like that, they will use their equipment and we will pay them to do that.
And how many year plan?
We can, from the people that we've spoken to, correct me if I'm wrong, we can get up to 5 years.
That's
We're
correct,
running.
5 years. And some of your local towns in Anson County already have the service, Ansonville, has it, Rockingham and Richmond County. So, you know, towns this size typically don't have their own sanitation department because of the cost associated with equipment. And then, so we're trying to look at ways to save money for the town.
We had talked, well, this is for down the road with the RFQ.
Now, now, with that RFQ, they need to understand, we got roads they got to get down.
Yes, sir.
I mean,
Yeah, so.
we got the roads, they've got to be able to get down. We got some, and that was one of the problems before. I remember this coming up
We took a look,
several years ago.
we took a little, dump thing, a little, not a golf cart, but a little small thing down those small
Streets and stuff.
streets.
So there's roads they've got to know got to get down to get people's trash.
Yes, sir, we made them aware that vocalize that if their truck goes down, it's no excuse, they still pick up our garbage and things like that. So there is insurance there.
Not go down. I mean, to get down a small street, yeah.
Yes, sir.
I also was made aware that it's, some, citizens can't even get their trash can to the road, period. And
There is,
our local, you know, our town guys,
there is,
handling that.
that's correct, sir. There is 60 customers
60 of them, okay.
that are handicapped and that they have to go to their side driveway or whatever and bring the trash to the curb. So
They're gonna be able to, if they take it, they'll be able to.
they will,
We would make sure.
we'll make sure that would be in the contract, that every service that we supply now, that will be adhered to.
With that in mind, I'd like to make that motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. My one thing on that, past all that, my recommendation would be that we keep that dump truck. That we keep still, and I base it on when we done this thing with the water. And I bet we wish we would've kept the water and all that. This is something new, if these company goes belly up, I don't wanna be sitting here looking at buying another trash truck.
I don't think,
That's
we're not
just
trying
me,
to
but,
sell ours over.
but that's.
Would that be in the plan?
We haven't completely discussed that.
We haven't completely discussed that, but I would recommend that we do keep one truck.
Keep the new trucks. I think we keep all our fleet.
Don't tell us what can happen down the road.
Only reason I agree with the mayor, I want to call you coach, with the mayor is because there was a company here, local guy, $20 a month, sold out. As soon as he sold out, the company took him over with a $30-something. So that's a possibility. You know, we can say we're gonna do a 5-year contract, but, you know, prices go up, companies sell out. They can come in here and say, look, I got this amount of money coming in, and they sell out, and next company come in, don't keep the contract. You know.
And we've had discussions with some of the companies, and they did also echo the fact that in that 5-year contract, they cannot raise their rates the next year without speaking to us or in turn the council. So it would be a mutual decision and talking about rates or things like that for any increases.
They raise their rate. I won't spend the time, but we'll get the
We'll get the,
RFQ and all of that. All right. Downtown staff report, Chief Martin.
Mayor, council, a couple things that I wanted to bring to your guys' attention again. Just a reminder of our summer camp, which is June the 8th through June the 12th. Again, that is June the 8th through June the 12th. This year, we did raise our age just a little bit. We're going to 10 to 14-year-olds, trying to reach that older audience. We do have an application deadline of May the 1st, and we are sitting right at 18 total participants that have already registered since we posted it several months ago, or a month ago, excuse me. So just want to let you guys know about that.
8 through 12?
June the 8th through the 12th, yes, sir. And then it'll be from 8 o'clock in the morning until 12 o'clock in the afternoon.
And they got to make it first, Rick?
That is correct, yes, ma'am. Second, we still have some available smoke alarms. David wanted me to let you guys know that if you know somebody that needs some smoke alarms or some folks that need their smoke alarms checked, let us know. Our partnership with Red Cross has excelled tremendously. We've put a pretty significant number of smoke alarms in this month. You guys have that report at your desk there for your reading pleasures. Want to let you guys know that we did place our new truck in service last week. So far, it's already responded to 8 calls. As we progress and move forward with the transition of this truck, once we make sure we're not going to have any hiccups, Mr. Ross wants to do a ceremony, so we're going to do that. But we just want to make sure that we're not going to have any issues with it being brand new. Things happen, especially when it's run down a production line and 20, 30, 40 people are working on it. We want to make sure we're not going to have any issues before we do that official ceremony. So I just want to let you guys know about that. Splash pad is set to open May the 25th. That'll be Memorial Day. That's what we originally discussed several councils ago.
And y'all checking the system out thoroughly to make sure?
We will when that time comes. Myself and Mr. Griffin are May the 25th. Myself and Mr. Griffin are gonna go over there and make sure that everything's running like it's supposed to, with intentions of hopefully having it up and operational within, I would say, probably the middle of April. That way it's sitting there running, just sitting there keeping that water clean. And Mr. Griffin will tell you, I'm always the one that ends up getting shoved in the little hole. But you have to go down there and clean that holding tank. And once we turn it on, we want it to sit there and run. We don't want it just to sit stagnant. If you go over there and look at it right now, the water is just horrible. So we'll pump all that water out, which is only 2,000 gallons. We'll fill it up with fresh water. We'll add the chemicals, make sure everything is operational well before this May the 25th deadline. If you recall back last summer, we had a bunch of issues. Those issues have since been resolved according to what they say and according to what we've watched between that timeline of, was it somewhere around, I won't say August to October. We're losing a lot of water. We put some water meters in, and we've gotten all that issue resolved now, unless something's happened over the winter. We did winterize it to the best of our ability and the best of our knowledge, and we also consulted with the company that put the splash pad in, and they told us exactly what to do. So we've got 2 people here that has, made sure that it was winterized correctly according to their protocols. So I hate to say it like this, we'll wait and see here in the next few weeks what happened over the winter. And y'all know water freezes. It's been fairly cold, so there's no telling what we're going to run into, but hopefully we won't have anything to worry about. Just want to let you guys know that City Pond has been open and running. It opened last weekend, or excuse me, 2 weekends ago, and Mr. Albert Spencer, the gentleman that oversees that operation out there, says that it has been flooded with people. So there's a lot of people coming out there to fish and to use the amenities that we offer there. So just want to let you know about that. The last thing that I would like to talk about and for you guys to consider is we still need to decide what we're going to do with Civitan Park as far as all those trees that we discussed at our budget retreat. All the trees on the other side of the creek are dead. We need to do something with them. We don't have the resources here in the town of Wadesboro to deal with that. So if you guys and Mr. Ross can collaborate and figure out what you want to do and how you want to proceed with trying to get that area cleaned up. We've cleaned it up the best of our ability along the creek, getting it back open. Yeah, all of you probably been through there and seen the cleaning that's going on, but beyond that, we're kind of at a standstill until we get some guidance as far as what y'all want to do.
And those trees are standing, they need to be.
These are the standing trees, yes, sir.
How many do you think?
30 to 40 maybe? I mean,
Can we get
that's
some help from our guys and Liza there with forestry that handle stuff like that?
I don't know if we can get them to cut them. That's the thing, all right, so they need to come down, so they need to be cut. Then we got to look at how we're going to clean the area up. You're going to have a stump left, you're going to have the trees left. Can we burn it? Our ordinance does allow us to make that determination as a governing body. We can burn it. I don't feel like it's an issue. We just need to make sure that we got the right temperature, the right humidity, so that smoke goes straight up. As you guys are aware, we have a housing development across the way. You've got several houses right there around it, the church, and then you've got Highway 74. What we cannot do is allow smoke to get into Highway 74, because that's gonna be a significant issue. Y'all know, once we light it, and that's gonna be a big fire, you ain't putting it out. And so we need to make sure that we do our due diligence to ensure that it is gonna burn and it's gonna burn properly. Within the first several hours of its burning is when we're gonna have the most smoke off of it. After that, the fire will be hot and you won't have nothing but heat. But it's that first initial few hours of burning. And then you've gotta have somebody there with some equipment to make sure that all that stuff gets stacked and you keep it turned so that we're constantly burning and trying to get rid of everything we're trying to get rid
So
of.
the wood's no good. Can the pulpwood just?
It's rotten. The vast majority of the trees there are rotten.
I said, no, you know, they train on that stuff. I didn't know if that'd be a good training.
I can reach out, I will reach out to the Forestry Service and see. Me personally, if I was doing it, I just cleared a significant portion of land myself. I wouldn't wanna cut it, because once you cut those trees, then you gotta dig the stump up. I would rather take a machine and push the whole tree over with the stump all at once and then stack it. That would be my suggestion, but it's up to you guys as far as what you want to do.
And that comes into a cost, and we'll need some ideas.
There is a
some
cost,
numbers.
yes, sir.
We need some numbers.
I can reach out to some contractors, or some grading companies here in the county and in the town that do that type of work, and bring it to you guys at the next meeting, to give you some kind of general idea. I know there's two companies here in town, is that correct, Nick? Yes. There's two that are in Wadesboro that do that, and there's several other ones out in the county, so I can get some costs and go from there.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
The creek down there that runs over, are we gonna have to do anything to that? Cause you know, when it rains, it runs over.
So, it's a creek. We can't control Mother Nature. The one thing that I will tell you is, have you been through there lately?
I haven't been down there.
Go, if you get an opportunity to ride down through there and look at it. I believe a lot of the reason why the creek was overflowing is there was abundance of trees in the creek. Me and Nick, and Nick can contest, I actually got in there and pulled a lot of that out. Or Nick pulled it out, I got in there and cut them out. So hopefully that'll kind of eliminate that issue. But when you get on the far side of the bridge over toward Myrtlewood, it just gets congested again, and I don't think we own a lot of that, so we can't really go over there and do anything. I know Brown Creek Soil and Water was doing some stuff to try and clean some creeks up. I don't know if that's on their list or not. I can reach out to them.
They were doing a lot of clearing.
And it was on part of the Jones Creek stuff, and so that is, I think that is part of Jones Creek.
The reason I ask, cause when I worked at Answer Shirt Company down there, sometimes we couldn't get to work.
Yes,
when
ma'am.
it rained or because of water.
Yes, ma'am, and I know Chief Spencer can remember, because I can remember several times when it's over the road, over Myrtlewood Drive entrance. So, yes, that is one of our concerns.
They cut a road in around the backside to get in there in case that happened, didn't they? Under the bridge.
Yeah, there is, yeah, yes. That was when the bridge was actually rendered not operational.
Chief Martin.
Yes, sir.
You'll be able to make those inquiries made and back to us by,
The next meeting?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Spencer?
Mayor, Councilman, I don't have much. It's for the month of March, we had a total of 1,010 calls for service. And on March the 21st, the Waverly Police Department, we hosted our Booze It or Lose It. We did checking stations, over 60 charges was made, including two DWIs. And on April the 4th, we hosted our first annual Easter egg hunt. I want to thank some of the council members, town manager for showing up. I think some of my council members had better time than the kids, but it was really nice. Did a great job, and one thing I was proud of, for some reason, and I've been living in Waysville a long time, we had a big turnout of Hispanics there. That was really great. That was really great, and we look at that as our new Hispanic officer that we hired. You can tell she got great connections.
Good.
People trusting, because that's what we need to do. People gonna have to trust the police, and for us to do that, for me to notice that was a big thing, and we really talked to I call her Lisa because I can't pronounce her name, but anyway, we really thank her for what she did. She did invite a lot of people, her Hispanic friends, and she did say that they start trusting law enforcement better. So that's a big thing. That's something good for Wadesboro, you know, I wanna say that part. But last thing I have, Chief and I noticed, that when we first started taking over, we had a lot of problems with shoplifters. So we implemented, obviously doing more walkthroughs, which good thing was we was able to hire people. We was averaging, let me see, I got it here. We was averaging 20 shoplifters calls a month. And for the month of March, we didn't have but 2. So you can see how implementing that walkthroughs and obviously getting out and talking to businesses, Food Line, the Dollar General stores and Dollar Tree, it has really helped out a lot.
What about Roses, where it's high volume?
Oh yeah, it has dropped way there. I mean, if you put up the numbers, it's 90% drop. You know, for what we done. So I want to, thank the chief for that, implementing that. But that's about all I got. You know, we just had the shooting over the weekend. It's still under investigation. It happened in the retaliation on the Morris Lake Road, but we are working on it. We do have suspects in mind of what we're dealing with. Not at this time. The young man that was shot several times is in Charlotte. He's in intensive care.
Shot how many times?
8 times.
The person did he shooting, did they live here, was it like a drive through?
No, they all local. They all local.
And that was 2 times down, they hit that one twice that night, didn't they? At Short Plaza, Myrtlewood.
Now, what you mean? There
was a shooting down there twice that night.
No, once there, and then later on in the evening, went to Morris Lake Road.
Sunday, yeah.
Yes, sir.
But I thought it was about 6 o'clock Saturday, they went through there shooting.
No, I don't have that one. I know this happened at 3 o'clock the morning, Sunday morning.
Yes, sir.
And then, now it may have happened Saturday.
I thought something happened earlier in the afternoon on Saturday, and then about 2 o'clock Sunday morning, and then the one over here on Woodland Road.
Okay, I probably have it in mind, because we do get shots fired calls.
Yes, sir.
So
And that's
it
what
may have been shot fired calls during that time.
Cameras up over there?
Well, we found out today, they were, okay. But now we have 2 cameras in that area.
Yeah,
but
coming in and out.
We're working on something else with the
My
cameras.
question now then, back to you, Mr. Ross, I reported those lights being out, see if we got them in. I talked to you last week, PD, the street poles, I think Duke Energy.
Duke Energy owns them,
Yeah, I would just make sure that they're on and working if they were not, cause it's dark when they're not working over there. That's all. Thank you, Chief.
I want to go back to what Mr. Seller, I just want to make sure. Let's see, and that was the 5th. No, I don't see anything, Mr. Sellers.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Gregory.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Good evening, council. Good evening. Couple updates we have. We have started with our meter change-out program. The contractor's doing that, coming work one day last week and are coming back another day this week. This is gonna get us approximately 200 meters on our cloud-based reading system, which is gonna be big time savings for us. Also, starting today, our contractor is moving in to start the East Side Sewer Project. They are hoping, once they get rolling, to put multiple crews on it and be finished before the end of this year, if everything goes well. You will see some construction traffic on that side of town. The contractor reached out to me about dropping some supplies at Civitan Park. They're gonna use that for staging area, so that's where the work's gonna be done at. Part of the work's gonna be done at. Got our new jet truck. It has really worked out good for us so far. We hope it stays that way. The crew took it out one day last week and cleaned almost 2,700 feet of line in one day. That was impossible to do with our old truck. So that is working out for us.
Do we have anywhere else to drop them supplies?
Not really.
So we're gonna drop them on the field? Or
No, so we're not gonna drop them on the field. We're gonna drop them on the backstop.
back behind the backstop?
Yes, sir.
I just had something had brought it, was gonna plan it, just some other places to go. All right, good.
So is there any, there's no other, alternative?
So you remember in the meeting that we were trying to talk to the people, about the lot behind McDonald's, between McDonald's
That's correct,
and Harvest
yeah.
Ministries?
Yes, sir.
That has since fell through.
Okay.
And so essentially they got trucks on the way. They needed somewhere local they could drop stuff quick. And that was the most, that fit the
I mean,
most.
Harvest, who owns that property where we were talking about dropping it first?
The Harvest Ministries, I think?
No, sir, somebody else.
Next to it, okay. That's private property, okay. Yeah, so, this is our, sewer replacement project. This is the big one, correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
This is the $10 million project.
That is correct.
So, I'll reach out to the folks who own the property.
Can we put it across the creek where it's cleaned out, or is that?
The only trouble with that is there's no good way to get trucks in and out of there.
Yeah.
That was a conversation.
But
we
I
had.
will reach out to the property owner and see can we use that as an alternative.
But
But,
supplies will be out there in the open. And the traffic that goes through there, the walk, the trash, all that stuff.
yeah.
Cause I'm down there.
This is a crucial project, right? And so, and this is an ARPA project, correct? So we're on a time crunch. 'Cause
No
if
problem.
you remember, this is the project that we were having trouble getting contractors to bid on.
Yeah.
And so we finally got one, and we had to kind of move some things around with DQ, and from another project that we were, by the way, under budget, $1 million, which was great. So we took those funds and put it into this project, so. But I will, for you, I will definitely, reach out to that property owner and see can we come up with another solution.
But it's not,
Mr. Griffin, is that the project you talked about the other day? When I came by and looked at the sewage?
No, sir, that's a totally different project.
I was, they was working on 74, back there by the mini market. And it was a sewage, it was about the sewage, and, I could go down in the hole, you can't see me in the hole. That's how deep it was. And if it weren't for that jet truck, it's no lie, they have been pumping water all day long and we never got done. And the guy took a shovel and just touched the cement pipe, it busted, that's in a split second. When people complain about, wow, you might need to raise water up or raise something up because the sewage is terrible, the pipes are bad.
Well, yeah, so if you, all across the country, if you look at
Right.
the infrastructure, it was built in the 20s and 30s, so it's crumbling now.
Yeah.
And this is what you get.
And, I sat there once and I told him, I said, I understand what y'all doing, what you go through.
Yeah.
And,
That grant, that truck appears.
and I admire you, I told
any
him.
more, Mr. Griffin?
No, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. Jacob?
Mr. Jake.
Hey, Chris, I wanna say something before you sit down. I had a neighbor they complained they got potholes on the end of Catherine Lane and Maple Lane. It's big old potholes at the end of that road there. I think they filled them in one time, but they're back out again.
So we are getting ready to embark on our spring paving event. So Ms. Joanne, just email me or call me with the location, and I'll make sure it's on the list.
Okay, I should.
Good evening. Hope everyone's doing well. First, I want to thank Ms. Bennett for coming in and presenting the audit. She always does a good job, very concise. I also want to reiterate what she said. The first item that I'm going to cover is our FPIC response. What this is it's a standard practice within 60 days of the audit presentation for us to provide responses to those issues that she's brought up. In this case, we had 2 that we need to respond to this year. One had 4 pieces, and then one was just one singular piece. And I have our administration response for you today in order for us to continue moving forward and get ready for the next audit preliminary, which is only a couple months away. I brought it to you today, the day of the audit presentation, instead of waiting 60 days, so we could just keep going forward with it. So the finance officer for the audit period that was just presented, Ms. Mason, she could not be here today, but she was available to help me and assist me in answering these questions since I was not here. So a lot of these responses that I'm going to read have her responses involved as well. So she had a piece of it, and that's what I'm going to read for you today. So if you start on page 1, FPIC number 1, our operating net income excluding depreciation, including debt service principal and interest. What it is I'm going to read the FPIC, explain what it is, and then give the town an administrative response, and then I will need all of council's signatures on this document in order to submit it to LGC correctly. So starting with the first one, the explanation. This calculation subtracts operating expenses from the operating revenues. Depreciation expense is not included in the calculation, but debt principal and interest payments are included. So any additional things that you finance or make payments on. A negative balance indicates that your rates are not covering your operating expenses and your debt service payments, which she said could lead to additional issues down the road. Our response to this is we do recognize this. However, the town during this fiscal period repaid some bond anticipation notes that heavily skewed this figure for the audit year. Series 2024 notes were used to pay off Series 2023 bond anticipation notes the year after, resulting in about a cost of about $2.2 million. And if you want to look at that a little further, just a note for you, you can see that on page 46 of your financial statements, and it is explained on page 44. So just if you wanted some extra details on that. This is why the FPIC exists on this specific topic for fiscal year end 6/30/25. We have been advised that this should not look the same for our next audit year, which will be as of 6/30/26. This should go away. Those bond anticipation notes were a beast, and it definitely did cause a lot of issues. In order to decrease the amount of the operating loss, we do expect to not have to do that again this year. All we expect this year is to have to do the transfers, as well as we plan to, in order to decrease the amount of the operating loss, excluding depreciation plus the debt service to a positive value in the water sewer fund. The UID currently stands at that negative $1.5 million. The town plans to raise rates and continue to produce more revenue to this offset this figure, i.e. the reval will come in, different things like that will happen. The town plans to, over this time, this figure will decline and return back to normal. Our goal is to be back above that $0 figure within at least 1 year, maybe a couple years if it's not possible for the first. But it should definitely be decreased by then. So the number 2 internal control, the number 2 FPIC that we're responding to has 4 separate major parts. And what these are internal controls not listed as material weakness or significant deficiency. The first one being 2A, which would be late bank reconciliations. And it was tested, pool cash account was tested for months, for 12 whole months, and noted that 12 bank reconciliations were completed late per town maintained documentation. And so what that could be is there could be a signature not on it. It could be something that was reopened based on a journal entry. Different things like that could have happened in order for that to be a possibility. And our response to that is we acknowledge the finding regarding the untimely completion of the bank reconciliations for the fiscal year ending June 30, 25. The delays were primarily due to the implementation of our new credit card system during the fiscal year. If anyone's familiar with what the name Invoice Cloud, that's the software we started using. As a result, deposits and adjustments from the 2 service providers were consistently posted accurately or in a timely manner. Additionally, there were instances in which customers were charged more than once. So when we first started the system, it was not really working well with our FMS system, so it was causing a lot of problems. That's what that little book was for. To address the issues, we have held numerous meetings with the service providers and conducted frequent follow-ups every month to identify and resolve the discrepancies. We also engaged the organization that supports our financial system to assist with the bank recs due to the complexity of the challenges with our pool cash. These circumstances significantly hindered our ability to complete the bank recs on time. At present, the issues appear to have been resolved. Bank reconciliations are now being completed on a timely manner thanks to our Deputy Finance and Office Manager Ashley. She's doing an amazing job of making sure everything's being done on time and accurately. So she's doing a great job. Moving on to 2B, budgets versus actual reports to council. This FPIC is in regards to providing all town council members the budget versus actual report for the general fund, as well as water sewer fund, as well as all of our project funds as well. I think after discussing with our auditor, we feel like that was what was missed, maybe providing project fund budget versus actuals to you. And ever since we did find this out on the audit, you've been provided them every month and will continue to be provided them. So we acknowledge that the financial performance indicator of concern regarding these absences of the budget versus actual reports for project funds in recent council meeting packets, while budget versus actual reports for the general fund and water sewer were provided monthly, along with a narrative memo and a summarized financial overview, including graphs reporting for the project funds, was not consistently included, particularly for the funds with minimal activity. To address this issue, I will make sure that we are compiling checklists to make sure that you are provided everything you need to be provided at each meeting timely. To make sure, and also make sure that it is included in the package that Danielle requests or whoever our auditor is at the time, whatever they request those packets, they'll make sure that they get the full, complete packet every month. So, 2C, negative unrestricted fund balance. Negative unrestricted net position per the statement of net position. The town has a negative unrestricted net position of its governmental activities of 2.423 million, or almost 2.5. As of June 30, 2025. Negative net position can be a sign of fiscal stress that indicates the local government's resources are not enough to cover your obligations in the future. The town does acknowledge the negative unrestricted fund balance reported in the fiscal year 2025. The condition resulted primarily from one-time capital purchases and expenditures that we needed to make to assist in the solution of our aging infrastructure and capital. The solution is smarter responsibility in the future and making sure that every budget season we're always, looking, double checking, triple checking to make sure that the things that we're purchasing are 100% mandatory, and we will continue to chip away at that deficit. And as Danielle did say, it was less within the past year, so it's going to continue to go down as long as we keep doing the right things. So, and then finally, 2D, your grant administration. During our audit procedures, we noted deficiencies in grant identification and accounting. Significant time was necessary in the course of the audit to identify grants, identify grant sources, federal, state, and or local, and assist with grant accounting and year-end accruals. We do acknowledge the receipt of the financial performance indicators of concern regarding our deficiencies in our grant administration practices identified in our audit. At the beginning of 24-25 fiscal year, the finance officer implemented an organized filing system in accordance with the auditor recommendations to ensure all invoices, payment requests were properly maintained and tracked. Midway through the fiscal year, the state introduced that new online reimbursement system, which initially caused some confusion and delays for the processing of the reimbursements. When we ask DEQ for reimbursement for some things, it could take 2 weeks, it could take 2 months.
Or 3 months.
Or three, and one example in this audit was a 3-month wait time for them to actually give us the funds we requested. And so that is not on the town's responsibility. We did our duty, we just did not get the funds in time. So that's what that is. And all of these processes have since been streamlined, resulting in improved efficiency. Now we make sure we really do try to stick to that 3-day turnaround, to where we make sure that as soon as we receive funds, we're paying it out. As soon as we see that some things need to be requested for reimbursement, Mr. Ross immediately jumps on it to make sure that we're getting those requests in and we're doing our job there. We take these findings very seriously and are committed to implementing additional corrective actions to ensure compliance with all applicable federal, state, and local requirements. We're also strengthening our internal controls to make sure that our segregation of duties will be better in the future. And we've already taken steps to do that. Mr. Ross has definitely taken some strides to improve that, especially since I've been here past 6 months. So
Now, this right here goes to who?
the LGC.
LGC. Now, has our auditor looked it over and approved what the finance? The only reason I asked that,
you're talking about
I was sitting in here last fiscal year when she brought this up.
The auditor of the FPIC response.
The auditor. When she brought all these notes up last year, a lot of them were, I'm looking at them now, and that's a year later. And so before I signed that piece of paper, I wanted to make sure that I don't want to sit here next year and have a new auditor or same auditor bring this back up.
I completely understand, and something that I've preached since I arrived here with some prior audit experiences, audits don't change and do a complete 180 within a year. And Daniil also said that as well. It takes time, and I feel like Mr. Ross has put the proper people and precautions and rules in place to make sure that we are being responsible going forward. I will say there are a couple things on that MD&A, that management letter that she did give us, that I feel like we can remove those off of that list pretty quickly. So.
We have gone, we used to didn't have a finance person. We've gone from not having one to we had Miss Marlene, and then, she was part-time, full-time, and now we have Jacob. So now if Jacob stays with us, we should be able to handle all of this and check balances, because we've gone from not having a finance director.
Yes, sir.
And it was a lot worse than we had to write LCG to
Yes, sir.
Mr. Float, so.
100%.
So,
And
that we can correct it.
yes, sir. And the improvements are there. Improvements are being made, as Ms. Daniil did say. It's just continuing to get buy-in from everybody. It takes the entire town staff to properly improve and fix the audit. So,
That's probably like one of your top priorities, though, correct?
yes, sir. That is top priority for me, especially when it comes to the finances, making sure that we're properly accounting for it. So, yes, sir. We can get them to sign them after, if that's okay. Oh, well, we need them all on one document. Oh, you already got it? Oh, cool, awesome. Thank you. I'm sorry, I wasn't even paying attention.
Mr. Ross.
Highly efficient.
She's awesome like that. She's awesome. Well, all right, so, and then my normal spiel, I do actually have a couple additional things for you. Mr. Mail did request an updated copy of both our recommended budget and the fee schedule after our workshop. So you do have that included in your packet, just so you guys can look over it. There will be a brief presentation of our recommended budget in the May meeting, and we will go over it in more detail there. Mr. Ross and I will both be talking about that in May, but this is just so you guys can look over what was talked about at the workshop. Absolutely. And then I also have in here, I do not have to include transfers in our report to the council. However, I do like to make sure we're being transparent with everything we do here. So any transfers that are made, even if they're not budget amendments, I make sure that we put them in here, and we have done all of these transfers in front of you. A lot of it is just making sure that we move the proper funding to cover bills. We're getting down to crunch time this year, where we got 2 months left, well, 3 months left, and we need to make sure that we have enough money to cover the things that are coming up. So that's what all these transfers are for.
I like to keep seeing them, if you don't mind.
Say that one more time.
I like looking at them,
Yes, sir, absolutely. And I will continue to keep providing them for you. And then, obviously, you have your normal fund summary and memo from me, and then you have your budget versus actual for your projects and for your general and water sewer funds. And those should all be in front of you. And we'll just go through my normal memo spiel so you can kind of see where we are financially right now, where we stand with our revenue collection and things like that. So, general fund, we have collected $3.87 million in revenue. Expenditures, we've expensed about $4.36 million in expenditures. We've encumbered about $350.2 thousand, leaving us at an operating deficit of $497.3 thousand. Usually we're in the millions, but since we're kind of collecting more revenue, that number's kind of dwindling a little bit, and we're going to continue to make sure that we're cutting, and saving money on the back end. And obviously we're keeping up with our mandatory things, but and then for water sewer, we've collected $2.96 million in revenue. Our water department has expensed $1.04 million. Sewer department is $667.3 thousand, and we've encumbered $203.3 thousand. Revenues in this case will exceed expenditures, leaving us at $1.24 million in the black, which is a very, very healthy performance here. And then cash and investments will stay fairly standard. We've got that same similar number from last month in our investment holdings in cash at $9.63 million. That's an increase from $1.68 million compared to this time last year. Non-interest bearing as of right now compared to last year, right about the same, only between like $0.04 million. Very, very similar, but if you look at our interest bearing, that is way higher than it was before, which is attributed to better investments and things like that. So, what to expect going forward, May and June, if it pleases the council, we would like to have a public hearing for the budget so people can come in and make their voices heard. It's standard practice last year, I think they did the same thing. May and June, there was a public hearing for people to come in. So we would like to match that and do that again this year at the council meetings for May and June to coincide with any presentations for the budget that we'll have. So, and then we'll make sure that we're continuing to save money. Mr. Ross has encouraged everybody, all department heads, to make sure that we're saving money and making the proper decisions with stuff to make sure that we're setting ourselves up for success at the end of this year. And then any additional requests anyone has, I know Mr. Sellers had some things he wanted from me. I'm anxiously waiting to make sure I get you guys all the things you need, so any requests you have, send them to Mr. Ross and myself, and we'll get you anything you guys need to know. Come into the office hours, just email me whatever you need, just let me know. And that's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Need a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
All in favor? Not going into closed session.